She is the only princess of the royal family, yet she is tied to a bed like cargo. Her brother forced her to marry a man she had only met once. The war hero, returning in triumph, was ordered by the king to marry his feeble-minded sister, ManhWa, as a reward for victory. This seemingly grand reward was actually an insult. The girl looked like a startled deer. Eric looked surprised. If he had been any closer, he would have noticed a trace of scrutiny in the princess's hollow eyes. The king's voice was cheerful, as if he were teasing a pet. My sister is very shy. ManhWa, come over here. When the girl spoke, she couldn't even manage a complete sentence. The next second, she fell heavily to the ground. The king sneered, my sister is in poor health, so I hope you all understand. Get up, ManhWa. Although the old count said marrying the princess was a family honor, his heart was currently filled with turmoil. This frail, simple-minded girl was actually the princess. The man accepted the marriage. Your humble servant will not bring shame to his majesty or the princess. Eric's obedience pleased the king. She's about to become your wife, so go say hello. His expression didn't change as he walked to ManhWa and knelt on one knee. Following royal etiquette, he took the girl's hand. It will be my honor to care for you in the future. Unexpectedly, the princess shoved him away. ManhWa backed away with a face full of terror. The king gestured. He is your future husband. This won't do. Come here. She ran to the king and knelt by the throne. The man stroked her blonde hair with satisfaction. You were rude, ManhWa. You must apologize to him. Just as he said that, the girl began to bark like a dog. Eric calmly watched this farce as if he wasn't the one about to marry the princess. As the sun set, no one spoke inside the carriage. Their family had just survived a long war. The king, who originally wanted them to be destroyed along with the enemy, was not satisfied with their overwhelming victory, so he arranged this marriage. His father was furious at the dinner table, but the son was much calmer. Although he resisted internally, he knew the king's order couldn't be broken. As the young head of the Cladnier family, he had to comply. Even more ridiculous was that the king sent a maid to spy on them under the guise of care. Despite the heavy atmosphere in the manor, the citizens were joyful about the royal union. They had no idea their lord was about to marry a fool. The wedding day arrived. The moment they saw the bride, whispers filled the hall. Is she unwell? She looks like she's drunk. Regardless of the bride's state, it couldn't stop the wedding from proceeding. Eric Cladnier and ManhWa Esqualier made their vows in the sacred church. They shared the ceremonial kiss. Before entering the room, an older maid cautioned him. Please do not hurt the princess tonight. We will come to collect the proof tomorrow morning. Eric's voice was cold as he said he understood. He pushed open the bedroom door. The girl was lying there, with hollow eyes, like a broken doll. The room was dark. Eric walked slowly toward her, but she didn't react at all. He took off his robe. He called to the princess softly, but suddenly noticed something wrong. Empty medicine bottles were scattered by the bed. Did they drug her? No. They actually gave sedatives to someone who was starving. Who would dare do something so shameless? It was obvious that without the king's orders, no one would have dared. Don't be afraid. I'll untie you right now. ManhWa didn't know how long she had been tied here. Her body was ice cold. Eric asked quietly. Are you okay? Where her ankles were bound was slightly swollen. It didn't look like she was okay at all. He untied the ropes on her wrists. The princess had been tied up for too long, and her body was near hypothermia. In this situation, he couldn't call anyone else. There was only one way. Princess, I'm getting under the covers. Please don't be startled. The man's slightly raspy voice echoed in the room. My name is Eric. I'm the son of Count Cladnier. I'm 24 and have no siblings. Although I once had a sister, she passed away when she was very young. Because of the war with the Republic of Satida, I've been living on the border. He didn't know how much the princess could understand, but he felt he should tell her the current situation. Winter on the border is very cold, and frostbite most easily attacks the extremities, so getting the blood flowing in the limbs is vital. He suddenly froze, realizing the princess had already fallen asleep. Seeing her color return, Eric sat up. He had to create evidence that they spent the night together. The next day, the man handed a blood-stained white cloth to the maid waiting outside. Just as the heavy-set maid was about to enter, he stopped her. The princess isn't awake yet. Let her rest a bit longer. After the maid left, he returned to the room. Just as he sighed, a sound came from behind. He looked back to see ManhWa grabbing a robe and biting it. On his wedding night, his wife was tied to the bed. However, the man only helped warm her frozen body before going elsewhere. Since their marriage stemmed from the king's malice, he didn't want to hurt this girl who already seemed so fragile. He faked the bloodstain. After giving it to the maid, he returned to the room, only to see the girl chewing on his robe. ManhWa made a whimpering sound. The man looked at the food basket behind him. Princess, you're hungry, aren't you? Is it okay to eat this first? The girl made a sound. dropped the robe, and reached out. Eric just watched her quietly as she took bites of bread like a small animal. His lips curled up involuntarily. I'm glad. You like it. After the wedding night, they returned to the Count's manor. Although the Count and his wife were waiting, they didn't actually welcome this troublesome daughter-in-law. They politely told them to go rest, but unexpectedly, the princess climbed onto a sculpture. Eric pulled her down. The Count turned and left in disgust. The maid reached out to take the girl, but Eric refused. You've traveled a long way. You must be tired. Go rest. I can handle this. For the two of them, this was exactly what they wanted. Once they were far away, he gave an order to the butler. From today on, the princess is part of our family. She's in poor health, so take extra care when looking after her. Not far away, his mother watched her son's every move thoughtfully. At mealtime, Eric took the initiative. I'll be responsible for the madam's meals. You all go rest. A tall maid insolently began to belittle ManhWa. It's fine. Every time the princess eats, everything was a mess, and she was always causing trouble. Eric's expression darkened, but he didn't snap. He simply continued to ask, are there any food she likes or dislikes? Learning that ManhWa didn't hold grudges, he picked up a small piece of meat. My lady, try this. He didn't look away, continuing to observe the princess's reaction, but unexpectedly. After chewing a few times, the girl spat it right in his face. Then she flipped over the soup in front of her. While stopping her, Eric still patiently guided her. Is the food not to your liking? Then he turned to the maids and ordered them to take ManhWa to change into new clothes. The dining room fell silent, giving them a chance to talk. The Count looked at his wife, using a secret code only. They could understand. Is it necessary to let her live much longer? The madam was amused by her husband's stupidity. If we kill this woman, we are all dead. Eric knew what his mother meant. The kingdom of Esquilier once had three great families known as the pillars of the nation. The Salicati family, who stabilized the interior, the Crispin family, who maintained domestic order, and the Cladnier family, who settled foreign threats. The current king married a queen from each of the three families. The prince born to the daughter of Duke Salicati is the tyrant Belmalik too. Not only did he fail his royal duties, but he also ruled with an iron fist, acting as a tyrant and, under the pretext of restoring royal power, personally wiped out his in-laws, the Salicati family. Yet he was still not satisfied and continued to suppress the other two families. Suffering under the oppression, the two houses decided to join forces and privately set an engagement between their heirs, planning to launch a rebellion as soon as the war ended. However, things didn't go as planned. The public's favor, tired of the tyranny, gradually shifted toward the Cladnier family, who had performed brilliantly in this war. The king's marriage order disrupted their plans. The Count was trembling. What's the use of keeping such a mentally unstable, crazy woman? The madam dismissed the attendants. I heard. The child used to be quite normal. It was only after seeing dead bodies in the palace that she became simple-minded. Don't you think she's quite pitiful? You still have the heart to pity her? The Count looked at his son again. Just this morning, some retainers suggested letting Abric take your place. They said since the Crispin family insists on an heir for the alliance, we can just change the heir. Your status is about to be lost because of that. Woman, he was once engaged to the Crispin family, but now he is married. Is Grand Duke Hakai still hesitating? The Count snorted. That fellow is far too weak. Hakai is the king's cousin and the only surviving royal, besides the princess. But due to an accidental mishap, he lost his ability to have children. Since then, he has lived a nearly secluded life. The more the Count thought, the angrier he got, and he left the dining room cursing. The madam mocked him. Look at his stupid, uncontrollable temper. Eric, what do you think? I think using marriage to bind two families was inappropriate from the start. It only attracts the king's attention more. Besides, the next heir to the throne hasn't been confirmed. It'll take us years to convince the nobles. You're right. It seems I've been on the battlefield too long. When it comes to political issues, even my brain has become dull. In this situation, even a young man like you knows better, yet he still talks about hurting that child. Speaking of which, let me remind you, it's good to leave no room for the maids to complain. But you'd better not develop feelings for that child. It's for the best. Nothing is shallower than a man's feelings. If the affection you give her must be taken back in the end, it's better not to give it at all. Don't make things difficult for that poor child. Eric thought about his relationship with the princess all the way. Even his mother thought it was better to distance himself from her. But recalling the way the girl was cruelly treated, he just couldn't seem to turn a blind eye completely. Suddenly, a maid's scolding came from ahead. Get to bed. Stop stalling. Why are you so disobedient today? Have you gotten enough strength from the food to resist? Thank you both for your hard work. The man's gentle voice came, but his tone brooked no argument. I will personally take care of the madam from now on. You too may leave. He just wanted to take the girl to her room to rest, but she struggled like crazy in his arms. As soon as he set her down, ManhWa instantly took a defensive stance against him. Through these few days together, Eric could basically confirm that the princess disliked him. Just a few days ago, he had intended to follow his mother's advice and redefine his relationship with the princess. But seeing her being bullied by the maids, his heart softened again. After sending the maids away, ManhWa clearly relaxed a lot. Although the girl rarely responded, he still insisted on communicating with her. It seems you're in a good mood today. This is our residence in the capital. From now on, we'll be traveling between here and our territory, Claudius. Is there anything you're unhappy about? The princess was still focused on playing with her hair. Eric was a bit disappointed. When he first entered, she would still make eye contact, but she lost interest in him so quickly. However, looking at the girl's exposed calves, does the princess not have any other clothes besides this? It's like a hospital gown. ManhWa suddenly looked up at him. Because they were so close, Eric was dazed for a moment. The next second, he heard a sputtering sound from the girl. She pouted her small lips and spat all over his face. The man was dumbfounded. My lady, you shouldn't spit in other people's faces. He gently patted ManhWa's back. You should rest now. I'll finish up the rest of my work and go to sleep. Call me if you need anything. Rumbling thunder came from the dark night sky. Moonlight streamed through the window onto the two of them. Eric was fast asleep, so he completely failed to notice his wife lying beside him, watching him with a strange expression. The girl showed none of the simple-mindedness or madness from the daytime. The next day, as usual, he scooped a spoonful of soup to feed the princess. Eric noticed her complexion looked even worse than usual, though she was fine. Before bed last night, he coaxed the girl, wanting her to eat a bit more. Unexpectedly, before he could finish, ManhWa pressed her hand into the soup. She grabbed a handful and shoved it into her mouth, licking it. Eric was at a loss once again. After Eric married the princess, the atmosphere within the inner territory also underwent a subtle change. As the commander, he went to the training grounds every day to train. But everyone's face, when facing him, looked as if they had something they wanted to say but stopped. A heavy atmosphere was everywhere. What are you all standing around for? Is today's training over already? From some point on, the count began to refuse to dine with them. Seeing her husband like that, the madam complained that he didn't know how to control his emotions. The retainers following Cladnir also seemed to be in total chaos. Despite this, there was no one dared to openly express dissatisfaction to the man himself because Eric always appeared perfectly composed, as if nothing were wrong. After training, Eric learned the princess had gone to the maid's workroom. The room was filled with the fresh scent of sun-dried laundry. The girls sat in a circle whispering, and ManhWa was lying right in the middle of them. Her hair was shimmering. Wow, she feels even prettier than a statue. I once saw a kitten like this with fur as white as snow. Oh, that must have been adorable. Eric arrived just in time to hear their conversation, realizing the two maids who were supposed to care for ManhWa had vanished again. He walked over and picked up the girl. I'll take care of her. He walked through the corridor and up the stairs back to their bedroom. As soon as they entered, the girl startled awake. She started struggling incessantly. Wait until I put you down. You'll get hurt if you fall like that. Unexpectedly, the moment he let go, the girl ran to the other side of the bed, looking at him with total suspicion. Through these past few days of observation, Eric realized the princess didn't seem to like him. How should he put it? She only treated him as a tool. Because of the princess's condition, Eric always paid extra attention to her. He noticed something stuck in ManhWa's hair and reached out to remove it, but the girl suddenly dodged. Did he scare her? I didn't mean to frighten you. I just wanted to take that thing out of your hair. ManhWa buried her head like an ostrich, refusing to look up. Eric began to observe her again. When the girl finally looked up, she didn't look scared at all. He suddenly remembered the maid's words. I once saw a kitten like this. Its fur was all pure white. It really is exactly the same. He couldn't help but chuckle. In reality, Eric wasn't as composed as he appeared. The maids from the palace always dumped the princess on the manor's servants and disappeared whenever they got the chance. There was definitely something fishy going on. The grain for the people in the territory was also an issue. There were too many things to worry about, and recently, one more was added. The person he sent to tail the head of the family brought back new intel. The head frequently meets with a woman in a tavern. Actually, ever since his father suddenly proposed the alliance with Crispin, he had been suspicious. Although the terms seemed decent to everyone else, for some reason, he couldn't shake his doubts. From then on, he started secretly watching his father's surroundings. He found a barmaid frequently entering and leaving his father's quarters. When he first found out, he felt a bit bitter. But on a life or death battlefield, one can't make a fuss over such matters. So he began investigating that woman to see if she had a mastermind or a specific motive for approaching his father. He hadn't told anyone about this. He never expected that after the war ended, his father would insist on bringing that barmaid back. He even let his right-hand man, Carnegie, hide her away. Out of desperation, he wrote to his mother about this and included the evidence. But his mother didn't care about a senile old man. If someone else wants him, let them have him. I'd rather not see him every night. I'm more comfortable this way. His mother was indifferent, and his investigation stalled. That woman never made contact with any mastermind. He tossed the letter aside and sighed. It seemed there was no new intel. Actually, it was normal for his mother to react that way because, in her eyes, their relationship was just a partnership to manage the family. A sound came from the bed. ManhWa was awake. She rubbed her eyes, then got up and walked toward him. Why don't you sleep a bit longer? Do you need anything? The girl still didn't respond, but this time was different. She put her hand on Eric's shoulder and then sat right in his lap. The girl took the initiative to sit in the man's lap and tore his important letters to pieces one by one. But not only was he not angry, he was happy that she finally took the initiative to be close to him. Eric had always been too busy with affairs and his dislike for the king to think much about romance. But now, the thought that she was the person he'd spend his life with gave him a novel feeling. He felt a surge of emotion. When he first learned about chivalry as a child, he was given a sense of responsibility and pride. But when he faced reality, he woke up from that beautiful dream. No matter how one sugarcoats it, in the end, he was just a breeding stud meant to carry on the family bloodline. So he had no requirements for his future wife. Even if she was someone who enjoyed tearing up papers like this, it didn't matter. To be precise, since he understood his status and responsibility as the family heir. He never held high expectations for marriage. Once the letters in her hand were all torn, the girl spotted the official document with the seal. This time, Eric stopped her. ManhWa, stop. He took the letter. You can't tear this one. The girl reached for it, but he dodged again. You clinging to me won't work either, because I haven't finished reading it. The girl's cries and his indulgent coaxing echoed in the room. Oh, not that one either. No. At least let me finish reading it first. The next day, ManhWa suddenly burst into the countess's office. The girl lay on the floor as if no one were there, purring like a cat. The madam was a bit surprised. How strange. I heard the princess usually spends her time with the servants. Why did she come to see me today? Oh, madam, how can you call the young madam the princess? She's not a stranger. True, but I haven't decided how to address her yet. Dial, madam, I've been on the border all this time, so I don't know much about palace etiquette. How should I address the princess in this case? Dial looked away. I'm not quite sure either. As expected, let alone helping, she didn't even have the heart to get along with them. Well, madam, I looked into it. It said that in similar cases before, the Abarl couple addressed the princess by her title. So let's follow that precedent. I heard the princess's name is ManhWa. She looked toward the girl. He called out in a voice much gentler than usual, ManhWa. The girl's emerald blue eyes turned toward him, and she suddenly stood up. A smile that wasn't very ladylike, but bright enough to outshine her surroundings appeared on her face. Oh my, it seems the princess agrees to let me use her name. ManhWa is such a lovely name. Dial suddenly spoke up. The princess seems to really like the madam. Could you let her highness stay here until dinner? Fine, you go rest. After she led her away, the maid beside the madam finally breathed a sigh of relief. Earlier, even a simple form of address could have been used as leverage against us. I heard Madame Dial idles around every day, and the only thing she insists on is personally bathing the princess daily. Moreover, Madame Malika is nowhere to be found all day. Nobody knows where she goes. The madam's lips curled. There must be a reason they are slacking off so brazenly. For now, we play along. After all, we don't know what kind of charges they're trying to pin on us. There, conversation didn't exclude ManhWa. The madam suddenly held her forehead. Adiel, bring me my headache medicine. When Adiel returned with the medicine, he saw a miraculous sight. The princess was leaning against the madam. Only when he got closer did he realize she had actually fallen asleep, and the madam was actually letting her rest her head on her lap. Are you all right? If the headache is bad, I'll call a doctor. But the madam changed the subject. This child is 20, right? That's what the palace people said. I remember hearing that at such a young age, she witnessed over half of the royal family being brutally massacred. It must have been incredibly painful. It would be a miracle if she weren't broken. And now she's being used everywhere. This poor child. She's so beautiful, yet her life has been so tragic. Both her features and the color of her eyes are stunning. She's just too thin. We need to make her more good food. Adiel originally thought the master didn't care about this daughter-in-law, but he hadn't expected her to observe her so closely. A sense of familiarity washed over him. Oh, ManhWa, your nails need trimming, and your hair needs brushing. Could it be that the madam sees the shadow of that child in the princess? When Eric returned from training, he heard the princess was with his mother. Before he even reached them, he heard his mother's and the maid's voices. Madam, let me do the toenails. It's fine. I can do it, and a sudden change of hands might startle her. What are you doing? Eric watched this scene in disbelief. From the moment he entered the room, he felt a sense of dissonance. Given his mother's personality, she would, at most, feel pity for others. It was completely impossible for her to personally trim someone else's toenails. She was someone so cold-hearted that she was utterly indifferent even to her own son. But her current expression made her affection for the princess obvious to anyone. That was an expression she only wore when his sister, Roselle, was alive. if his mother was already seeing the image of her own daughter in the princess. Was it really okay to let this continue? He quickly stepped forward. Give me the clippers. I'll do it. The reason he had this thought was that he clearly remembered how his mother looked the day his sister passed away. He wasn't sure if he should stop her. Alec looked solemn, but he deftly helped the girl trim her nails. Misa looked up slightly, staring at him with eyes full of curiosity. It tickles. Eder suddenly felt a chill. The princess had changed her expression without him noticing. Oh no, she's upset. He looked at the sweets nearby, picked up a piece, and popped it into the girl's mouth. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Alec curiously asked him why he did that. I thought Her Highness looked a bit uncomfortable. She quieted down immediately when I gave her sweets before. It seems she really likes them. His mother's laughter rang out. Misa looks so adorable when she eats. Seeing her enjoy it so much makes me feel happy too. At this time, Alec, who didn't see Misa as a woman yet, had no idea that in just a few days, he would be completely fallen for her. He had only been bitten by her once, but he tossed and turned all night. Alec, who had always treated the princess like a child, suddenly realized he was starting to feel strange. Just a day ago, he was taking care of Misa as usual, but what he didn't understand was which part of her reminded his mother of his sister. Only their eyes were similar. If it was about eye color, didn't Alaric look even more alike? But his mother never treated him differently. Just then, an attendant brought a plate of roasted quail. The moment the plate was set down, the girl suddenly grabbed her head. She closed her eyes in pain and kept waving her hands as if she were shooing something away. Could it be because of this? After he took the plate of quail away, the princess became calm again. Alec couldn't help but wonder if she had some past trauma with quail. Because of this incident, Alec couldn't fully focus during training the next day, worried if she was eating well. She seemed listless before he left this morning. As it approached noon, he ended the training early and rushed back. Just as he reached the estate, he heard that she had fallen into the stream. Madam took a bath and a nap after lunch, and she is now in the maid's workroom. Alec was shocked. She fell into the stream? Yes, on the way to the chapel with the lady. She probably fell in while looking at the fish. Hearing that his mother was with her, Alec felt at ease. Being with his mother, she shouldn't be in any danger. Still, she had a busy day. The young lady didn't seem to like the chapel. She started making a fuss as soon as they arrived. So she stayed outside with the maids until the service was over. Thinking that Misa might not be very happy today, he wondered if giving her something delicious like yesterday would help a bit. With that in mind, he ordered the steward to prepare some sweets on the table every day. Night came quickly, and the girl opened her mouth, waiting for Alec to feed her. Why are you so well-behaved today? Seeing her so lively. She should be fine now. Don't just eat meat, have some vegetables too. He stacked an onion on the beef, open wide. To his surprise, as it reached her mouth, the onion fell off. It's okay, I'll get you another piece. Alec's hand suddenly stopped. The onion had landed right on the girl's chest, which made him feel momentarily nervous. Excuse me. He was careful not to touch her. Seeing the food move away, Misa actually lunged to bite it. Alec pulled his hand back, but the girl grabbed his arm. I will cut you a new piece. You can't eat this one. Misa refused and squeezed his arm so hard her face crumpled. Alec didn't dare use too much force for fear of hurting her, so she got her way and bit down on his finger. The sensation of hard teeth and soft lips made him pull his hand back instantly. Misa looked stunned. She stared blankly at the man, and then, like a kitten whose food was stolen, she got angry. She grabbed the tablecloth and flipped all the food over. When Dia opened the door, she saw the two of them covered in soup. She didn't hide her disgust. Don't you get tired of this every time you eat? Meanwhile, Alex sat still for a long time. His hand still held the sensation of her touch. Dang it, his thoughts were becoming jumbled. Images of Misa biting him kept flashing in his mind, as if he could still feel the moisture on his fingertip. Even though she is his wife, her current state is no different from a child's. So she probably doesn't even understand that. I am her husband. He couldn't see the princess as a woman. Alec kept brainwashing himself not to have any thoughts about her, but his flushed ears and face betrayed everything. Not long after, his mother informed him that a tea party would be held on Wednesday. She hoped her son could look after the princess. A tea party? Although it sounds like a normal event, it's actually a gathering for the ladies of like-minded families to discuss the corrupt royal family and other clans. So it's easy to gather all kinds of intel there. They will host the event this time. Most importantly, the Marchioness of Crispin and her only daughter will also attend. Even though breaking the engagement wasn't their fault, the other party might still hold a grudge. After saying that, the lady planned to take the princess to the greenhouse. Alec awkwardly turned his head away from the girl. But he couldn't help caring. Misa, did you have fun today? This made his mother laugh. You sound just like a father leaving his child with a nanny. Why don't you come along? I still have work to do. I just stopped by to see her. Alec wanted to refuse. But after one more look at the girl, he changed his mind. I'll go. Take a look. The greenhouse was huge. Misa was like a curious little animal, running around everywhere. Seeing her like this, Alec's tense heart finally relaxed a little. Just then, two maids who often played with Misa arrived. Young lady, are you visiting the greenhouse too? Why didn't you come play with us earlier? We have been waiting for you. The moment she saw the bird in the cage, Misa seemed frozen in place. Lightning flashed in the pitch-black night sky. Inside the chapel, several crows flapped their wings and made piercing cries. The walls were covered in large splashes of blood, and on the floor was the nightmare she didn't want to remember. The parrot's eerie. Mom made a mistake, but even if Mom does something wrong, she has to be punished, right? So now Mom is. Her remaining words were drowned out by a piercing scream. It was Misa, clutching her head and breaking down. She collapsed to the ground, gasping in agony. But those cruel and fearful eyes, those shocked stares, and that blatant disgust. All eyes from every direction were fixed on the girl. Only Alec was the first to rush toward her. Alec never hid his kindness toward Misa. So much so that rumors started spreading even in his uncle's territory that he had fallen for a madwoman. Even when the princess shrieked and lost it in front of everyone, while most people showed fear and disgust, he was still the first to run over to protect her. Are you okay? Just lean on me. No one around knew why she was like this. Misa suddenly lunged at him as if grabbing onto her only lifeline. Her whole body was shaking violently. What on earth is happening? Malika said calmly. The young lady became like this because she saw that bird. Her Highness is afraid of birds. But this seems like more than just a fear of birds. The Countess barked, shouldn't this have been told to us beforehand? If you can't even do that, why did you even come to this border estate? The maid's attitude was arrogant. Don't we bathe and dress Her Highness every day? We just forgot one tiny detail. No need to be so aggressive. What are you talking about? Although the lady didn't speak again, there was a murderous look in her eyes. Alec noticed his mother's displeasure, but the girl's condition wouldn't allow her to stay any longer. He took Misa out of the greenhouse. So that day was because of birds too? From now on, that kind of food won't be on the table anymore. All the birds in the greenhouse will be removed. The girl then waved her hand. Do you want to go to the courtyard? There might be birds there. Misa nodded to show she wanted to go. Alec agreed. Thinking about it now, aside from when his mother took her to the chapel, she had always stayed inside. Maybe getting some fresh air would be better. He wiped the remaining tears from her eyes. Rest easy, if any. Birds fly by, I'll chase them away. Once you fall asleep, I'll carry you back to your room. He then began scanning the surroundings. Perhaps the sudden relaxation after the scare made Misa slowly close her eyes. After a long while, someone approached from a distance. He spoke familiarly. Are you enjoying a stroll with the lady? You two seem so close. Oh, she's sleeping. Alec looked annoyed. Get lost. But the man stepped closer. You've got such a short fuse. What? Afraid I'll wake your wife? There are rumors about you too. Everywhere now. They've even reached my house. Alec finally looked him in the eye. Who is it this time? His uncle had been rallying collateral branches to make his own son, Alaric, the head of the family. At a time like this, having family matters leaked wasn't good. There's a red-haired maid named Fina in your house. This time it was her. Attendant spreading news everywhere. This man was Alaric, but being naturally easygoing, he had no interest in power. Supporting Alec for a long time. Thanks. I owe you one. Don't mention it. Thanks to you guys, things have actually been interesting lately. But what's the deal with you? Are you head over heels for her? I heard you even trim her toenails yourself. I couldn't just stand by and watch my mother do it. Well, that's true, but seeing you today, it feels a bit much. What are you trying to say? I heard from the maids that your wife never gets a chance to walk. You carry her everywhere you go. Didn't you see that my wife has trouble walking? Plus, she's naturally unpredictable. Do you want me to drag her along like I did at the wedding? If it were you, could you do that to your own family? Alaric looked skeptical. There goes that unique sense of duty and sympathy of yours again, even if there are unavoidable reasons. I still can't wrap my head around it. When I first heard the rumors, I thought it was just your way of tricking the king. I even praised your acting skills. But now, when no one's watching, why go to such lengths? Do you really plan to let this woman keep being your wife? While Alec was initially just afraid of waking Misa and told Alaric to beat it, now the other man was about to set him off. Shut up. Look, I just don't get your thinking. Logically, it would be better if you disposed of her immediately, weren't you? Supposed to marry Arcane? Stop it. It doesn't matter who I marry as long as it helps the family. Since I married her, the king will lower his guard against us. For a while. Besides, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know whose lap she's lying on or what kind of treatment she's receiving. She's already miserable enough, so is it necessary to make her even more unfortunate? Alaric sighed. True, everyone treats the princess like a plague. This was the first time Alec heard someone's direct opinion of his wife. He said gloomily, like a plague? A few months later, the tea party was held as scheduled. Families associated with Cradoneer arrived one after another. The mother and daughter from the Crispin family also attended, but Alec only gave them a brief greeting while holding the princess. They were met with dozens of curious stares. Of course, the well wishes from this crowd couldn't be sincere. During the post-wedding period, facing the awkward vibe between the two formerly engaged families, everyone feigned ignorance while watching secretly. Later, Alec used his wife's health as an excuse, picked up Misa, and left. Arcane stared at them thoughtfully. Wait, she actually chased after them. Is something wrong? I want to talk. Alec's tone was very cold. It's quite rude of you to follow us like this. Arcane didn't care and just kept going. Since time is short, I'll be brief. Don't have children with her, since he was ordered by the king to marry her. The agreement between the two families, originally made for mutual benefit, was now void. Didn't understand her point. The woman released the handkerchief behind her back and said her goodbyes. Well then, until next time. Inside the Crispin carriage, her mother asked, did you leave the handkerchief there? Did you make things clear? Seeing the girl nod, the mother continued, you saw them just now, didn't you? Those two were holding each other like that the whole time. So gross. But that girl is the type all men like. Not only is she gorgeous, but she's always smiling. You should have been the one to join that family. Arcane had spent her life learning the virtues of a noble lady. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration to say her upbringing was just to produce an heir. But deep down, the girl might not feel the same. Her hands were covered in labor and scars that a noble girl shouldn't have. Lately, Alec had been working late into the night. His brain was constantly overloaded. His father was obsessed with hostesses and ignored family matters, so he had to shoulder most of the estate's affairs. What was giving him a headache lately was the loss of life and property caused by the long war, resulting in a food shortage this summer. If he could find a way to hold out until autumn, things might gradually stabilize. Since the soldiers who returned from the front to farm would finally have a harvest. Normally, having won the victory, they should have been fully compensated by the crown. But the king's compensation to Cradoneer was only mediocre. Spoils of war and the Harlech iron mine, which was granted only to save face. Alec looked toward the other side of the bedroom. Since the iron mine would take a long time to develop, it couldn't solve the immediate crisis. The priority was how to trade existing assets for food. With the king turning a blind eye, they had to handle it themselves. This wasn't just about finances. Because his father was absent, all the vassals were watching him. Those expectant gazes were more painful than he imagined. It felt like a heavy coffin pressing down on him. The man suddenly snapped out of it. Misa grabbed his clothes. Sorry, I was lost in thought. Do you want to sit here? The next second, the girl suddenly hugged him. His wife possessed stunning beauty, but was an innocent simpleton. But for Alec, who was overstressed by the estate's problems, her presence was actually a relief. With just one look, Alec knew what she wanted. He fed the girl a candy. Are you going back? Don't leave yet. Stay a while. Just watching this woman nestle in his arms without running away felt like a comfort to his heavy heart. The next day, a maid from Crispin suddenly arrived, claiming her lady's handkerchief was left behind. In high society, a handkerchief is a token of romance. For an unmarried young lady to leave a handkerchief at her ex-fiancé's house was a serious matter, so the lady immediately ordered a search. To avoid scandal, she declared the handkerchief belonged to the Marchioness. Surprisingly, the head maid knew Malika. She suggested getting rid of the princess within 2 years. If you want, it could even be tomorrow. No. This can't be rushed like before. If it's too fast, they will become suspects. Meanwhile, the lady was personally brushing Misa's hair. Today was a family dinner. She wanted to tell the girl to behave, but she changed her mind at the last second. Never mind, Misa, as long as you eat well, that's all that matters. Nearby, the count glared at the girl with hostility. The meal didn't go smoothly. Misa made a sharp screeching sound on her plate, which was unbearable. The count barked, what is wrong with her? Is she just now learning how to use a fork? Don't yell at her. Alec picked up a piece of roasted lamb. My lady, just eat this with your hands. You people are unbelievable. How old is she that she needs to be taught how to eat step by step? Dear, you should stop paying attention to Misa. She definitely doesn't want your attention anyway. Feeling insulted, the count was about to argue. But the lady looked away. Alec, give Misa some vegetables. This made the count even angrier. He slammed the table. You two are going to see His Majesty soon. During that time, don't let her get even a scratch. After saying that, he got up and left. But clearly, both his son and wife ignored him. Speaking of the palace, she suddenly asked if he had prepared a gift. Alec replied it was already taken care of. In the kingdom of Esquilier, there is a tradition that 50 days after the wedding, the newlyweds visit the bride's family. For him and Misa, that meant going to the palace. On the morning they were to leave, the maid suddenly acted very diligent, which felt awkward to him. He looked at the girl dressed in her finest. The princess was the wife he married under sympathetic gazes, just when he had given up on marriage. But she seemed better than he imagined. Alec leaned in close. Do you know what my name is? Misa just glanced at him and turned away. Though he got no response, the man smiled. It's okay. I was just asking. To Alec, Misa might not even know who he was, but to him, having someone to protect made life worth living. Soon they arrived at the palace. From the blinding light, streaming through the windows to the gray-white marble covering the central palace, he knew the intent was to intimidate. Thinking of the king's actions, he felt unpleasant. 20 years ago, the young king who had just ascended stabilized his power effortlessly because his grandfather, the head of the Salakidi family, was extremely powerful. But 12 years ago, when the war caused many deaths, no one knew what happened. In the capital, the king's behavior changed drastically. The palace was filled with blood every day. Picked away, more heads would be rolling around. Where would his next step land? On this floor. And whose corpse had once lain there? The two soon entered the great hall. Alec escorted the princess to pay their respects. Greetings, Your Majesty. The man on the throne had a mocking look. The girl suddenly bent down. After a few steps forward, she lay directly on the floor. The king, meanwhile, stared intently at his sister. Long time no see. Misa, you look so healthy. It seems you two will have a child soon. Since their wedding night, Alec had worked hard to avoid the king's suspicion because he didn't want someone so innocent to go through the pain of childbirth for no reason. Although that was what he thought. What he said was quite different. I also hope to have a child soon. It is just that my wife hasn't fully recovered yet. No need to go on. I don't want to talk about a monkey's health issues. More than that, I've heard some very interesting things from the maids. After your first night together, the sheets were covered in blood, but when they bathed the princess, her body was perfectly clean. In fact, from that first night until now, both the bed and the princess have been spotless. What is it? Do you not want an heir with royal blood? Alec finally realized he had messed up. You're usually so well-spoken. Tell me what's really on your mind? I heard you haven't even touched her. Do you plan on asking the temple for an annulment? No. How could I ever have such a thought? He didn't expect the maids to report such private matters to the king. The king's smile became even more sinister. Is that so? The Crainier family has made a fool out of the royalty. My Misa is so lovely, yet you won't even touch her. Should I then view your actions as treason against the crown? Alec's heart sank. Was he really going to push the situation this far? Since the king used the word treason, there was no way out. Even if he didn't care about his own life, what kind of end would his parents and the vassals who followed Crainier face? The knights he brought to the capital numbered only about 70, no match for the Imperial Guard. The king gestured. Misa, come here. The girl obediently crawled toward him. My poor sister, why don't you answer me? Does your husband undress you at night? But the princess was just focused on playing with his shoes. The king suddenly grabbed her hair with force. The girl shrieked in pain. Alec shouted, Your Majesty, please let go. Misa, am I not asking you a question? Has he touched you or not? He had never touched his wife since the wedding, but now the princess, in front of everyone, pointed at herself and said, It hurts here. All because the king wanted to take down the Crainier family who held the border military power. If his sister was still a virgin, he could frame the young count for treason by mocking the royalty. But now, that's simple-minded. Princess was stumblingly describing how her husband treated her on their wedding night. Alec was stunned, listening to her talk about things that never happened. What on earth is going on? The king stood up abruptly. Enough. I don't want to hear the details of my sister and her husband's bedroom affairs. This is disgusting. He kicked Misa away. Take her out of here now. Alec stepped forward to hold the girl. His expression had completely changed. Words couldn't describe how he felt right now. Was it the humiliation and rage of being framed by the king's crude tactics? or the betrayal from the princess he had been caring for like family. On the carriage, Alec didn't say a word. The princess slept quietly in his arms. The man's tight jaw seemed to signal an oncoming storm. As soon as they returned home, he gave the order, "I will look after my wife today. Don't let anyone come to the second floor. Go to the knights and bring Karine, even from the main hall on the first floor." But how could a small, frail girl resist a man who had fought on battlefields for years? Karen arrived quickly. "Do not let anyone near the study today. If anything happens, report to me immediately." As soon as they entered the room, he threw her onto the bed in the inner chamber. "No one can hear our conversation now. Even if you scream your head off, no one is coming." He grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her toward him. "Do you understand what I mean? I mean that no matter what you say, no one will hear you. I already know you can communicate with others, so just speak up." Misa was completely paralyzed. The pressure from this man was just too much. She forced a silly, clueless smile, but clearly, that trick wasn't working anymore. "I'm very patient. How long? Do you plan on playing dumb? If I hadn't found out today, were you going to keep hiding it forever? What exactly do you take me for? Husband?" She cut off everything else he was about to say. That familiar tone made Alex's eyes widen. "You should stop focusing on Misa. Anyway, Misa definitely doesn't want your concern." In that moment, he even doubted if he had heard her correctly. "What did you mean by acting like that in front of the king?" The girl tilted her head slightly. "Everyone will surely be scavenging everywhere like hounds. So, we have to prove that we are doing well." Misa's tone was fluent and decisive. He felt like he had heard these words somewhere before, despite her gentle face and calm voice. Her hands were shaking slightly from nerves. Alex suppressed the urge to keep questioning her. He let go of Misa. "I'm not trying to rush you." He just couldn't believe for a moment that she was actually saying, what has she been thinking about in that little head of hers all this time? Alec had heard that as a child. She witnessed her mother's death, and after that, she must have seen many of her siblings being executed by the king. The choice she made just to stay alive was likely to endure the contempt and mockery that were worse than how one treats animals. Thinking about what her life had been like. Until now, he found himself speechless. They had only known each other for a very short time, so he had no right to comfort her after she'd been through so much. A simple "it's been hard on you" wouldn't be enough to give her any solace. He really wanted to say something to Misa, but in the end, he realized there was nothing he could say. That night, the princess slept in the study while Alec watched over her all night until the butler brought breakfast. Malaka was with him. Alec thought he would have been executed for reporting false information, but surprisingly, he got away with it. He stopped Malaka from waking the princess. Let her sleep a bit longer. He could probably guess that Malaka thought they had done what they didn't do on their wedding night, which is why he came to check. But maybe it was better to let him have that misunderstanding. Alec ate breakfast alone. That's when he realized it had been a long time since he ate by himself. It felt like chewing sand. The princess soon regained her spirits. As usual, she began her daily routine, making a mess of the table, gnawing on the clothes the dark-haired man had taken off, and pulling out the maid's white hair. Just like that, she finished half of her daily tasks. Misa pretended not to understand the maid's insults while thinking about that dark-haired man. She wasn't quite sure why, but he seemed very angry yesterday. What if he tells someone my secret and gets me kicked out of here? No. Even though that man seemed angry, so far he doesn't seem like a bad person. But if he tells my secret, the girl hurried to the other side of the estate. "There, you are, Misa. Did you sleep well last night? Didn't I tell you not to run around when no one is with you?" She threw herself into the lady's lap, and as expected, she began to stroke her gently. "This child looks like she isn't fully awake yet." Fortunately, the lady was acting as usual. Alec's mother was discussing the garden renovations. They were planning to use Mazu wood for the fencing. Misa knew that the rosewood used in the palace was 5 times more expensive than Mazu wood. Could it be that they can't afford expensive materials here? Then again, she had never been anywhere other than the Royal Palace and Celia Palace. By the way, the Ligonton family's dairy farm has started making butter and cheese, though it's a bit expensive at 20 pars. I heard the quality is good. So, I brought some over. Misa was shocked. That tiny amount cost 20 pars? The lady picked up a piece and fed it to her. She remembered a maid saying a large bag of flour cost 20 pars. So this palm-sized piece of butter costs as much as a bag of flour. That dark-haired man has been worrying about the food supply for the people in his territory. If the family has no money, it would be better to just buy flour. Does it taste good, Misa? You're eating so heartily. The lady's eyes were filled with affection as she looked at her. Then let's buy 5 day and save them for Misa. The butter they usually buy is only 4 pars, while 5 day is 100 pars. The dark-haired man and the lady seem so happy just watching me eat. Why is that? Whatever. The reason, their considerate attitude definitely isn't just because of me. Because the princess had always been treated like a plague, so no one would ever treat her that way. Evening soon arrived, when Alec came to pick up Misa. The girl who usually lunged at him actually rejected him. She didn't want to be alone with this man. But Alec didn't give her a chance to escape. In the next instant, she was lightly scooped up into his arms. Alec spoke into her ear in a voice only she could hear. Misa, you'd better come with me. Quietly, because I haven't told anyone about what happened yesterday yet. Ever since her brother, the king, arranged her marriage to Alec, the girl told herself not to disobey this man. So she didn't care much about exposing her scars, unaware of the shock it caused him. After realizing the princess was faking her madness, Alec started making her eat by herself. Misa hated this man. Alec seemed like he was against her. This man was decent, refined, and emotionally stable. Knife and fork in over 10 years. Even something as simple as cutting a steak is a struggle for her. Yet the man seriously praises her, saying she's doing a great job. Her hands are shaking like crazy, and he still praises her with a straight face. She drops the knife, grabs the food, and starts stuffing it into her mouth. Alec is stunned by her behavior. What is it this time? The girl furrows her pretty brows, looking disgusted by his question. If the maids find the table too clean, they'll start doubting her again. Unexpectedly, the man suddenly looks down, covering his flushed face, and says, "Stop, I get what you mean." Misa is confused. Is he angry? It's not like it's the first time he's seen her messy eating. Guess she should tone it down. Her chin is suddenly lifted. Look up at me. The man begins to carefully wipe the mess off her face. What should I do? Should I wipe you down and feed you like before? Misa nods. She didn't expect him to be so observant. Hand. He pulls her hand over and starts wiping it carefully. Still not used to being treated gently, the girl looks away. The post-dinner routine is to help her bathe. This time, Alec doesn't leave. A bucket of freezing water is poured over the girl's head, treating the princess like an idiot. Malaka complains openly. How does this girl never catch a cold? I really wanted a few days off. She also finds it strange that she never gets sick. But then again, usually, the heavy-set maid bathes her. Why is it him today? Misa smirks, turns around, and grabs Malaka's hair. Malaka didn't expect her to fight back and angrily pushed her back, but she messed up this time. What are you doing? The man's voice rings out from behind. Malaka fakes surprise. You. Why are you here? As you can see, the princess suddenly started struggling. Sometimes she gets hurt because of it. I only did this because I had no choice. How? Ridiculous. Blatantly lying just because she knows the girl. Just as Malaka tries to convince Alec to leave, the man walks right in. I'll bathe her. My goodness, how could you personally bathe the princess? She might fall into the water or suddenly lash out. There's no need to trouble yourself. Alec gives her a cold stare. Then, it's even more appropriate for me, her husband, to do it, isn't it? Malaka tries to use the complex bathing process to discourage Alec. Bathing the princess isn't easy. First, you use this for her hair, then use essential oils for the ends. Carefully wipe every drop of water, and then apply lotion. What a liar. They used to just wash her with bar soap. Even so, it was better than in the palace. Back there, they just toss her into lye water, like they were washing laundry. At Alec's insistence, Malaka leaves reluctantly. Although he sent the maid away, Alec is now at a loss. He turns his head, stammering, can you wash yourself? Expecting a madwoman to bathe herself? How could she? Alec grinds his teeth, face turning red as he chokes out, fine. Bit confused. Why does he seem angry again? But keeping him pissed off won't do her any favors, so she decides to play along. Noticing the princess approaching, Alec immediately covers his face. What are you doing? But a moment later, all the awkwardness and shyness vanish completely. After the girl drops the towel, he only sees the whip marks and scars covering her body. The rows of scars are like thorns, reminding him of the torture this girl once endured. Yet her eyes are indifferent, as if all of this were perfectly normal. To Misa, from the first time she saw Alec's burly and threatening physique, she had resolved never to cross him. That's how she has always survived. But when she sees the man's expression clearly, memory and reality overlap. Fear instantly takes over her brain. She starts to shrink back. Did I make a mistake? Even though this man looks terrifying, his attitude toward me has mostly been gentle. But now, with that look on his face, am I going to be beaten again? Even if she doesn't know why he's angry, what's the point in knowing anyway? Has she ever needed a reason to be beaten? The expected pain doesn't come. Misa snaps out of her shock. Even the scars are so deep. How hard were they hitting you back then? Just who did this to you? She hears concern in the man's tone. So is he pitying her? Perhaps it's the first time she's heard a voice so full of sorrow. Misa finally speaks again. The king. She felt she should answer him, even though her speech was very clumsy. It was an unexpected answer, yet also exactly the one he anticipated. Alec's eyes fill with sadness. And just because she responded He was so flustered he didn't know how to react. After steadying his emotions, he grabs Misa. Quick, finish washing and get out, or you'll catch a cold. Alec rolls up his sleeves. If anything feels uncomfortable, just tell me. It's my first time bathing someone, after all. The girl finally realizes he might not be angry, because his eyes are now full of sympathy. She wanted to say he could just wash her like a dog, but he was being so careful. Soaking in the hot water, Misa realizes for the first time how refreshing a bath could be. She starts to feel drowsy. She's in such a good mood that she comfortably closes her eyes, failing to notice the man carefully wiping her down, his face currently bright red. As a mad woman, she shouldn't have feelings like shyness or being ticklish, but the girl still couldn't help but laugh while he scrubbed her back. She dodged Alec's hand. The man was stunned by her look, his face turning beet red as he looked away. The usually calm and steady man started stammering apologies. That sense of embarrassment was like a contagious disease, infecting Misa as well. Even she started acting strange. Alec was already busy during the day, and as soon as he finished, he collapsed onto the bed in exhaustion. Misa thought he must be wiped out. The man reached out his hand to find her. Lie down and rest now. You must be exhausted too. Misa lay down obediently, thinking, I'm not the one who needs rest. It's you, right? Alec's breathing became steady. The girl just stared silently at his sleeping face. She really couldn't figure this man. Body, he showed such sorrow. Sometimes, seeing her terrible table manners, he couldn't hide his look of disgust. Did he just pass out? Still, a guy like him is probably a rare kind of good person. The girl pushed the door and walked to the next room. The moment it closed, Alec opened his eyes. He sat up in bed, staring at the light peeking through the door crack. Then came the girl's faint voice. He couldn't help but curiously step forward as the voice grew clearer. Dear, go. Get me some headache medicine. It should be in my room. There's a food poisoning outbreak in the north of the capital. The medicine I'm proud of has already reached 7 Jerry. Misa was practicing with a fork. Don't mention her. The girl's tone was fluent and firm, but if you listened closely, you'd realize these were all conversations others had said. The next day, the maid checked the princess's body as usual. The master hasn't even touched her. Why does he dismiss everyone? Look, her body is so clean. There's not a single mark. This sort of thing had happened countless times to Misa, but today her mood was exceptionally bad. Maybe it was that dark-haired man yesterday who awakened her sense of shame. She noticed another strange behavior in herself. In the past, when she played the madwoman, she never cared about people's gossip. But after he saw her true self, she actually worried if he would laugh at her. Malaka looked puzzled. Could it be he has no desire even after seeing you naked? Then again, who would want someone like you to carry their child? Misa turned around. Her body really had been too clean lately, not even a single bruise. She had to find a chance to take a nasty fall. That was the only way to reduce their suspicions. How should she do it? She didn't want to get hurt too badly. Should she just break something expensive? No, the gardens here only used ordinary wood. She couldn't make things worse for them. Misa looked at the stairs. Nearby, the heavy-set maid was still a distance away. If she controlled the force, it shouldn't be too bad of a fall. It would hurt, but there was no better way. She pretended her legs went weak on the next step. Suddenly, a pair of large hands reached out. You really are too much to handle. The girl was pulled back. Wait, when did he get here? Misa didn't want to see him at all, especially after what happened last night. Alec took her to the greenhouse. All the birds here had been moved away. But do you really hate birds that much? The girl gave a grunt. He kept pressing. Why? Is there a specific reason? Because the birds ate. Ate? Ate what? She didn't want to answer. She glared at Alec and turned her head. The man continued. Does it hurt somewhere when you speak? There won't be anyone else coming here. You can relax. Actually, she wasn't worried about people coming. Her hesitant look made the man realize something. Is it hard for you to speak? Usually, things sounded great in her head, but when she actually tried to say them, she found it's so difficult. Is it because it's been so long since you've talked to anyone that you've forgotten how to organize your thoughts? She really didn't know how to explain it, and yet this guy could actually guess why she couldn't speak normally. The man kept analyzing. Is that why you mimic how others talk? Stop nodding. Just try to speak. I've seen that you can give short answers. Misa realized she couldn't seem to say no to Alec. Every time she saw that dead serious face of his, no matter how reluctant she was, she always felt like she should say something back. Got it. The moment she spoke, she was startled by her own voice. That feeling of embarrassment rushed back. It's okay. If you speak often, it'll get better. Or, the man took her hand. How about you learn from me? Alec placed her hand on his throat. A person's vocal cords should be right here. Can you feel them? Then he started making different sounds, explaining as he went that the vocal cords move with the volume. The girl felt the vibration at her fingertips. My pronunciation sounds pleasant, doesn't it? This is how I was taught when my voice was breaking. Now, you try. She touched her own neck, wondering what voice breaking meant. As she changed sounds, she felt the vibrations too. Alex smiled. Did you get the hang of it? You can try saying anything. Anything at all. What is voice breaking? Alec froze again, then burst into laughter. Sorry, of all the things. You could ask for your first question. Why? Something so strange. When people reach a certain age, their voices change. That's the voice breaking period. Anything else you want to ask, or anything you need? She did have one very urgent question. The master hasn't even touched her. Why does he dismiss everyone? What does that mean? Seeing the man suddenly stiffen, she wondered if he didn't understand. Thinking quickly, Misa turned around and raised her legs. Only then did Alec realize he hadn't misheard. He frantically stopped the girl. No. Don't do that. I understand. Just don't ever make that move again. To completely escape the girl took the initiative to suggest sleeping together. But the man was not only inexperienced, but also very reserved. He stammered, saying he needed some time. How about we try to get closer first? That might make things a bit less awkward between us. Misa hadn't even processed what he meant. Before he stood up, I'll give you a tour of the greenhouse. The king had used their lack of intimacy as an excuse to accuse the Claudinal family of treason, so she didn't understand why Alec always seemed so calm and unhurried. Plus, the king had the maids spying on them. A little later, Alec was amazed. So you don't actually have trouble walking? The girl gave a cat-like smirk. Come to think of it, I've been totally fooled by you from the start. Of course, that was something she had practiced hard to perfect. Just how? Just how did you do it? Misa wasn't good at expressing herself yet, so she decided not to explain for now. She opened her arms. Alec stopped in his tracks. Do you need me to carry you? You did walk much more than usual today. She toyed with her hair. This man didn't force her to do anything. Nor did he pry into her business. It was a relief. He was even better than she imagined. She felt this kindness might last for a long time. One day before the wedding, a priestess had told her what to do on the first night. Since it was just a formality, the priestess described the process in a monotone, but it still felt a bit strange to her. The priestess also said there would be great physical pain during the process. So she had always considered it a major hassle. But to her, now it was an important way to solidify this marriage. But ever since their talk a few days ago, he had been making all sorts of excuses to stall. Clearly, his life was also in the king's hands, so why was she the only one feeling anxious? Alec noticed her gaze. Do you have something to say to me? The girl's voice held a hint of annoyance. When will we ever get close? What if all the kindness he showed was fake? What if stalling was just to make it easier to annul the marriage later and kick her out? If it wasn't that, then maybe it was what Malaka said, that even if she were naked, he would have no desire. Whenever people here were nice to her, she would get swamped with insecure thoughts. That's why she wanted to solidify this marriage quickly, because she really liked the life here. Being here sometimes made her feel like she had gone back to those better times. Not getting any response from her, Alec looked worried. Misa, are you okay? I've called your name several times. She didn't know how to express her unease, so she just repeated the maid's words. Who would want someone like this to carry their child? Alec was shocked. What are you talking about? Who dared say that to you? That sharp tone. That must have been Lady Malaka. So that's what you meant. Alec's face flushed again. I told you before we know nothing about each other. Not that. Again, she tossed the pillow aside and repeated his own words. How about we try to get closer first? That might make things a bit less awkward between us. Alec realized. So that's why you listened to me so well that day. Did you think that by listening to me, we could do that? You're pretty clever. But I also need time to prepare myself mentally. It's not something to be done lightly. As for what to do, let's discuss it tonight. But she had heard that people could do that even on their first meeting. That night, Alec placed the candle on the nightstand. The situation is quite complicated right now, and then there are the maids who followed you here. Anyway, you want to do what happens on the first night, and so, tell me something about yourself every night. Anything will do, and I'll play along. Let's start with something simple. My lady, what's your favorite food? The girl answered meat. Alec was surprised. I thought you'd like cake or cookies. I like fruits and vegetables. Because on the battlefield, you only get to eat dry, tasteless food. Mentioning the battlefield, eyes light up, looking expectant for him to continue. Seeing this, Alec chuckled. Don't you get bored staying home all the time? She didn't understand bored because that was just how her life was. But she had to find a way to answer him. Stop talking, Alec. The man was stunned. Are you mimicking my mother now? He started laughing again. But I'm happy. You called my name. Say it again. That wasn't a hard request, so Misa called his name again. Alex's expression softened as if something had touched his heart. Very good. Your voice is lovely. He cupped Misa's face. Anyway, since you've been so cooperative this time, let me show a little sincerity. He gently kissed the girl's forehead. Misa was frozen in place, staring at him blankly. This was the first time Eric felt such intense curiosity toward someone. Not only had she perfectly fooled everyone since childhood, but even he, despite treating countless patients, hadn't realized her limp was faked. To think she could keep up such a charade until now in a cutthroat place like the palace was truly astonishing. Eric began to wonder about her past and what went on in that little head of hers every day. His desire to understand everything about her grew stronger, but early the next morning, he heard news of his mother's furious outburst. By the time he rushed over, he saw the girl lying in bed, pale as a ghost. Just as he was starting to fall for her, he suddenly received news of her injury. Seeing Misa's pale face, Eric's mind went blank, while his mother was so enraged. She was ready to go on a killing spree. Earlier this morning, as per routine, the maids checked Misa's body. After confirming the two still hadn't been intimate, Malaka suddenly froze, staring intently at Misa's face. The princess had been acting strange lately, though she couldn't quite put her finger on what was wrong. The plump maid nearby asked, "By the way, are you seeing them today?" "No, tomorrow. I wonder if we'll get what we want this time." Misa couldn't understand what they were saying, but the instincts she'd honed over 10 years in the palace signaled danger. Why are the 3 pillars of the kingdom like that? Seriously, how much longer? Do we have to stay here? She was certain that if she didn't make something happen today, they would definitely become suspicious. Misa began to cause a scene, running all around the second floor. In front of countless maids, she leaped from the balcony. The flower beds, in full bloom, served as a perfect cushion. The madam sat by the bed, her voice chillingly cold. "Since you're here to watch her, then do your jobs. You two have nothing better to do all day, right? Was it that hard to just keep her from getting hurt?" Seeing her son arrive, her sharp expression softened slightly. Eric's eyes remained fixed on Misa, completely ignoring the plump maid's excuses. With a very solemn expression, he felt the girl's forehead to check her temperature. Misa, however, was faking sleep. Sensing the heavy atmosphere, she was too afraid to open her eyes. So naturally, she didn't see Eric's expression, which was a mix of anger and heartbreak. "Check her over. This girl is Gara. She's a medic from the Cradner Knights. From now on, I will assign a maid from the manor for the madam. You two go back to the palace and report this matter." He dismissed Malaka and Edir. Once the others left, the madam's behavior suddenly changed. "I never thought playing along with those incompetents would be this difficult. I should just tear them all to pieces." "Eric, don't you agree?" His mother was likely seeing her youngest daughter's shadow in Misa. One spring, right before Roger's birthday, she had wandered into the forest alone without her nanny. She was struck down by a drunken knight and passed away. That day, his mother completely lost her mind. Not only that night, but the groom who gave him the horse. And even their entire families were executed. At the time, his father condemned her actions as too extreme. Since then, the two of them have been at odds. Today, his mother's state was dangerously close to that day, so it was best not to let her interfere. There was no telling what crazy thing she might do. "Mother, this is my wife's business. I'll handle it." Gara finished her examination right then. The young madam just sprained her right hand. "I've already treated it. Moving around shouldn't be much of a problem." The madam's tense nerves finally relaxed. What a relief. "You're right. I should probably go back and cool off." Before leaving, she kissed Misa's forehead. "I trust you'll handle this well." Gara keenly sensed the captain was terrifying right now. She quietly edged away. "Well, I'll be going too." "Wait, you just said there were no major injuries elsewhere. Are you sure?" Gara immediately backed down. "I'm so sorry. Actually, the young madam has many recurring injuries, and the wounds were quite deep. But most are old scars that can't be healed anymore, which is why I didn't mention them. That's all it was. I definitely won't tell a soul. You know I've never leaked any secrets without permission." Eric cut her off. "You're not busy lately, are you?" The girl got a bad feeling. "Actually, a lot of people mistakenly think I'm free. Starting tomorrow morning. You'll be working here." Gara was stunned. Eric gave her no chance to refuse. "If you understand, then get out." He slammed the door shut. Only he and Misa remained in the room. His voice was still cold. "I know. You're not asleep. Why on earth did you do this? You must have a reason." Misa was determined to play dead. She didn't want to face Eric. But her trembling body gave her away. The man sighed helplessly, softening his tone to coax her. "It's okay, Misa. Just tell me. What was the reason for causing this commotion today?" The girl finally opened her eyes. "There is a reason. Then let's hear it." It's a bit hard to explain. Eric gave in to her. Misa, you absolutely cannot let yourself get hurt again. I'd rather you break things or do anything else. Seeing her avoidant expression, he leaned in closer. What do you do? You can do anything, just don't get hurt. Do you understand? Promise me right now that you won't let yourself get hurt again. The girl nodded quickly. I promise. Eric finally breathed a sigh of relief. Then rest now. If you're hungry, let me know. Seeing the girl still looking quite alert. Is there something else? Was that person just now my maid? He almost laughed in frustration. You're hurt like this and you're curious about that? This is the arrangement for now. Do you not like her? The girl shook her head. Good. I heard she's a student of a famous doctor, so she's very skilled at treating trauma. Even though she looks frail, she can easily take down a few thugs. Plus, she's tight-lipped. How tight? Well, she won't be bought by anyone. However, since she's a doctor, she's never been interrogated. Just in case, you should still keep up the act for now. Remember Karen, who was guarding the gate when we went to the palace. From now on, I'll have him guard the second floor constantly. Karen lost 2 fingers under torture, so he out of everyone. I know, he's the most trustworthy. However, I haven't told him about your situation yet, so you don't need to worry. Anyway, since you're injured, I'll leave the night's affairs aside and stay with you for a while. Misa's expression shifted with every word he spoke. When he said he'd take time off, the girl's blatant joy made Eric's heart flutter. He knew that no one but him had ever seen her like this. He couldn't help but gently pat her head. I'll go handle some urgent business and come right back. Misa looked even more excited, and her mood seemed to rub off on him. But unexpectedly, the next second, she suddenly sat up and lunged right at him. The girl was always finding ways to get close to him. As a man long bound by etiquette and tradition, he couldn't understand how she could express her desires so bluntly. That look of anticipation in her eyes, combined with her confusing actions, always made his heart race. This was the first time Eric scolded Misa. What are you talking about? You're injured. How can you even think about doing that? Yet, what made him even more frustrated was that, even though he was clearly angry, he couldn't take his eyes off her. Don't even think about it until you're fully healed. After saying that, he couldn't help but look at her again. Misa's eyes were slightly red and she was pouting. Look at that, she's actually getting upset. But problems have to be solved. Why exactly are you in such a rush to do that? After a moment, the girl finally spoke. I heard you haven't even touched the princess. Are you planning to go to the temple to annul the marriage? Normally, you should have gotten rid of her by now. Weren't you originally supposed to marry Lacane? As those familiar words poured out of her mouth, Eric realized she knew everything. She had been paying attention to everything Alboric said. Misa, I am absolutely not going to annul this marriage. We are going to spend our whole lives together, so we have plenty of time. There's no need to rush into that when we barely know each other. The girl's mouth was still twisted. She clearly didn't believe him. You're thinking about weird stuff again, aren't you? If you're curious or worried about anything, just ask. I'll answer you honestly. Or, do you think I'm hiding something from you? You used to sit on my lap and look at all those documents. You've seen every single secret. What could I possibly hide from you? At this point, Eric knew he couldn't rush her. Just get some good rest today. If you can't sleep, do you want the maids to keep you company? Misa was confused by the sudden mention of the maids. Don't you always hang out in the maids' workroom? I saw that you have a great time with them. It wasn't for fun. Then what was it for? The workroom is quiet, and I could hear everything the maids were saying. So you went there to gather information. He suddenly had a hunch. Is that how you did things in the palace too? The girl nodded happily. Exactly. Do you know why the court count's head is still attached? Do you know how much money head maid Nemalia took from Madame Malaka? I know all of that. And Edier already said she hates the white-haired butler. She likes the burly type, you know, the big, rugged guys. The gossip about people he knew shocked Eric. Wait, you're saying the butler likes Edier and got rejected? What shocked him even more was that everything Misa had done so far actually had a purpose. Perhaps. Thinking this, he leaned toward Misa, his voice becoming much softer. I want to get a little closer and talk. The girl looked expectant. Could it be that they were going to do it today? But immediately, a bucket of cold water was thrown over her. Why did Madame Malaka give money to head maid Nemalia? Did she mess up? Or was it because she wanted to get the position of the maid who looks after you? Her expectations crushed, Misa turned away in a huff. Unfortunately for her simple nature, she was no match for him. You have to tell Misa we can get closer quickly. The girl reluctantly muttered a few words. See you tomorrow. Even mentioning Malaka and the 3 pillars of the palace, Eric began to piece it together. The 3 pillars refers to the 3 great families of the kingdom. Among them, the king's maternal family has been powerless since they were purged a few years ago. Lacane once said something bizarre to him, and the one spying on them was Malaka. It seems the pillar she wants to meet is the Crispin family. I need to send someone to investigate both sides. Misa didn't expect him to catch the main point so fast. An outrageous thought began to form in her mind. If it's this man, a sudden kiss landed on her cheek. She covered her face and looked at Eric. His face was even redder than hers. This is a reward for answering my questions. She stared blankly at the man in front of her. If this reckless man is really like what she thought, then what should she do? The next day, the newly appointed maid was harassed by Malaka. What's the meaning of this? Are you saying the things I brought are harmful to the young madam? Who knows if this ointment is poisoned? How can you just use it on her highness? Gara was furious. How dare they bully her like this? She scooped up a glob of ointment, put it straight into her mouth, and swallowed it. See? It's fine. Since you're so worried, why don't you have a taste too? Eric smiled. Choosing her was definitely the right move. He walked over to Misa and gently told her, my lady, I'll be back before noon. It won't take long, so get some rest first. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, he bid her farewell. I'm leaving my wife in your hands. In truth, he still didn't quite understand Misa's behavior yesterday. He didn't know why she would go so far as to hurt herself just to keep up the act, even if it was an opportunity to suppress the palace maids. Could it be that it was also part of her plan? To figure out Misa's true intentions, he had to get rid of all the spies first, and then slowly. Everything the girl had endured in the palace flashed before Eric's eyes. In this moment, he seemed to become a different person. Soon, he dumped the knight's training duties onto Almoric. Do you have any idea how busy I am? Besides seeing women you. It's not that. The captain clearly can't even hold a conversation with her, but the way he looks at her. Forget it, it's nothing. Maybe they just have a good relationship. Karen leaned toward her. I haven't seen how the captain treats the young madam, so I'm not sure. But he's always been a person who values etiquette. Although he's usually cold, he's never mistreated us. Has he? That's true. As long as you don't hide anything from him, you'll be fine. Exactly. After all, the captain values honesty above all. Meanwhile, this man who values etiquette and honesty was about to give his wife a bath. Was painting. The girl didn't answer, but made a dry request. Don't read fairy tale books. Eric looked back at her. What? No, I don't want those. I want to hear the books adults read. It might be better to read books that help you with your speaking. Next time, I'll have her bring novels. Because they have a lot of dialogue. Misa fidgeted. Well? Also, that person lacks basic manners, so I can't talk to her. Understood. I'll have her bring some books to improve her manners. Eric opened his arms. All right, let's go over there. The bathwater is ready, but the girl suddenly dodged him. He looked puzzled. Misa? The girl's voice was tiny. Shy. Eric's face is shy? I'll be uncomfortable. My face is shy. What does that mean? Every time I take a bath, your face turns red. Why are you shy? After saying that, she pointed to the door. I want to wash myself. Eric, get out. The man was stunned. But isn't your arm injured if you wash yourself? This time, Misa didn't answer him, but there was a clear change in her expression. She was upset again. Eric spoke in a negotiating tone. Then let me wash the paint off and wash your hair, then I'll leave. How's that? Misa finally reluctantly agreed. By the way, you don't seem to like answering much. Eric gently washed her fingers. From now on, try to answer questions with simple dialogue, because no matter what you do, only practice will lead to progress. The girl blushed and pulled her hand away. Get out now. Can you do it yourself? It's fine. Get out now. Seeing her act tough like this, Eric actually laughed. Understood. If you need anything, just call me. Who knew that as soon as he closed the door, the sound of something dropping came from inside. He turned back nervously, ready to go back in at any moment. But soon, the sound of splashing water came from inside. Misa, trying to bathe independently for the first time, was very unhappy. This won't do. Tomorrow, Gara will wash me. Fine. Let her do it starting tomorrow. Eric smiled dotingly, thinking about how she even put her nightgown on backward. Come here, let me dry you off properly. That night, he sat by the bed, massaging the girl's wrist, while asking her how she spent her morning. Gara, I like her. That's good. He saw Misa's hands were all wrinkled from the water. Is everything comfortable for now? Yes. Good. Didn't you say you like eating meat? I've already informed the kitchen. But why were you so thin and weak before? Misa thought for a moment and started to explain. Seemed like too much trouble, so she started mimicking someone else's voice. Oh, why bother preparing so much? It's such a hassle. Anyway, more falls on the floor than goes into the mouth. Just give me whatever scraps are lying around. Were Malaka and Jelan the maids who served you from the start? No. 5, but now there are 2. The mood around Eric shifted. His tone was casual, but if you listen closely, you could hear a cold edge. I see. It seems they treat you with total contempt. Mia? Miyasa keenly sensed his change in mood. No, if they get hurt, Bellamur will find out. Bellamur was the name the king used before he took the throne. The girl's body began to tremble slightly. Realizing she was scared, Eric immediately changed the subject. Anyway, it has only been a few days, and your speech has become much more fluent. It could have been better. It is just that I could not. Practice. Why could you not practice? That is because I wanted to practice. At night, but every time I tried to get up, you would do this. She did not. Know how many times she tried to sneak away, only to be pulled back into Eric's arms. For every question the girl answered, she would ask the man for a kiss as a reward. Eric, who initially just wanted to learn about the princess, gradually began to get hooked on this game. Every time Miyasa wanted to practice speaking. At night, she would be unconsciously pulled back into his embrace. So Eric had no idea that he was accidentally delaying his wife's speech lessons. He apologized with a blush and told her she could practice freely from now on. Miyasa pointed to her forehead. I spoke, so now? Right here. Eric looked surprised, but he quickly understood what the girl wanted. Are you an information broker? Demanding a reward for every single sentence? The girl did not know what a broker was. But from that moment on, her speech became more and more proficient, and the questions increased as well. Surprisingly, she often asked some very basic questions. What does lying mean? What about that darn word? How do girls my age usually live? How do others view the king? As they talk more, Mia's speech became very fluent. She tilted her face up with a proud look. Because these are all things I already knew how to say. Things I have already thought about in my head. I answered you. Now kiss me. Well, how about being a bit more polite when you speak from now on? Why? After all, we are husband and wife. Wouldn't it be better to be more respectful? But I am royalty, and a son of the Cradoniel family is a count at most. Why should I show you respect? Eric laughed. Well, what can we do? Since you married me, you have now become a mere noble as well. Why is that? He explained the laws of the kingdom to her. Except for the king. When people of different social classes marry, they remain at the lower status. Eric kissed the back of her hand. Did I disappoint you? No, I like life here. So it does not matter even if I become like a regular noble. That is good. Miasa's eyes were adorable as she listened intently, and so was her small mouth as she carefully spoke each word. Why hadn't he noticed it before? His wife was so lovely and beautiful. The girl twirled his hair. You are very kind. I am glad. I saved you. What do you mean by that? When you were about to be branded a traitor by the king, didn't I save your life? Eric looked down. If he hadn't married, he wouldn't have faced those dangers. However, the girl's triumphant expression, her rosy cheeks, and those lips that chattered on incessantly, made him feel that even if it were so, it was fine. Yes, I will be forever grateful. More than that. Even more. What made his heart race were her ever-changing expressions. Marrying you made me so happy, truly, because everything about her was just too adorable. He couldn't look away. Now you should close your eyes, he urged. Hurry. The girl closed her eyes. Alaric looked at his girl tenderly. Your lips are so stiff. Just relax a bit. Unlike what Misa learned from the priest, Alaric's behavior seemed very strange to her. There was no food in her mouth. So why was he being so persistent? But when Alaric pulled back, he saw Misa's shy and shocked expression. He couldn't help laughing, kissing her forehead and cheeks over and over. Did it feel strange to you? To her. It felt very strange. Wait, she pushed him away hard. This isn't right. Do you even know how? No, have you done this before? You haven't, right? This isn't how it's done. Those things have nothing to do with the upper body. I learned from the priest, so I know very well. Alaric grabbed her flailing hands. I'm doing this to ease the pain you mentioned, my lady. But Misa was convinced she was right. No. You might be mistaken. Alaric pressed down her hands. If you're always like this, we can't do anything. She turned her head, continuing to protest. Don't be so stubborn. I'm doing this to save you. Hearing it was for him. Alaric's joy filled his heart even more. For me? I'm so touched. It seems I'll have to take a bit more time because I don't want my dear lady to feel any pain. Hey, why don't you understand? I feel the same way as you. I didn't expect us to understand each other like this. I'm so happy. The next day, the stout maid and Malika were confused. What is going on? Did they actually go through with it or not? Misa indeed hadn't rested well. Alaric had only been kissing her all night. She didn't expect this man to be so clueless about this. Just then, Jalal walked in. Malika curled her lip. Oh, look, the mistress is here. They actually mistook Jalal for Alaric's mistress. The girl picked up some clothes to help Misa change, but the sight before her made her freeze. What is this? Is it a rash? By the time she realized what it was, she let out a sharp scream. Meanwhile, the culprit was listening to Eater's report. The palace doesn't plan to replace Malika. They fear further investigation will raise suspicion, so they have to pause for now. Strange. Malika doesn't seem capable. According to the investigation, her hands are very dirty. Once, she was even caught stealing valuables in the palace. only keeping her job by bribing the head maid. Despite this, the king still insists on not replacing her. Anyway, due to Malika's situation, Lady Manelsi has also started sending gifts to the head maid. Because the head maid is very extravagant, things are progressing very smoothly. Good work. As Alaric took it, Eater said, "Young master, you should tone down your intense attention toward the young lady." The girl thought her master was a beast, because the young lady, who has the mind of a child, was covered in his marks. While Jella was losing it, Misa was busy digging a hole. This is not right. Has the captain really lost his mind? She waved her fist. My lady, if you don't like the master, just scratch or bite him. It's okay to hit him. But who could she even tell? Misa felt a bit awkward, but to keep up her act, she couldn't tell Jella that she was willing to be close to Alaric. Jella was about to snap. Wait. They are husband and wife. Who can stop them? Looking at the innocent young lady, Jella felt a bit sad. Until now, I thought my sister was the most pitiful person in the world. But now, I'm not so sure. I have a sister like you named Tali. To be exact, I have 8 siblings. Families like ours always have many children. But one day, an infectious disease spread through the village. Tali became like you after a high fever. My father was a blacksmith's assistant then. People said, how could he afford to raise a sick child? So one day my father took Tali out. When he came back, he was alone. It took a long time to realize Tali went somewhere she could never return from. Even though I was heartbroken, I had no one to tell. Because they would only say, who hasn't gone through something like that? Misa listened carefully to Jella. So hurting family is a common thing? She learned something new today. After venting, Jella shyly turned away. Before, I could only talk to the horses in the stable or a passing dog. My lady, thank you for listening to my story. She used to be called a mouse or a monkey often, but this time, she was compared to a horse and a dog. However, this time, she didn't feel so bad. Jella gazed at her. My lady, actually, when I first met you, she waited curiously for Jella to finish, but Alaric unexpectedly arrived. He told Jella to head back. The girl left with concern, looking back every few steps. Misa wanted to hear Jella finish more than she wanted to see him. So when the man brushed aside her windblown hair to kiss his wife, her saying you don't have to pick me up anymore left him stunned. What does that mean? You don't like me coming to get you? It's not that. Misa replied using what she just learned. You're so busy. How can I take up your time? Besides, whenever I'm with you, everyone stops talking. But when I'm with Jella, lots of people talk to her. I find it very interesting. Alaric fell silent. After a moment, he said, I suppose so. Misa stared at him. Why does it feel like he's in a bad mood? Then she heard Alaric continue. You only want to be with Jella. How about dressing a bit more formally? It doesn't matter if you have to change often. I thought it was too much before. Why would they have you wear such poor quality clothes? Is there a specific reason? I want you to wear better clothes. Of course, there was a reason. If the Cladnier family knew she was someone who was naturally disliked, they definitely wouldn't respect her. Then, before long, they would show their true colors, whether by mistreating her or making her disappear directly. For the king and his people, either would be a good thing. After all, it would give them a reason to move against the Cladnier family. And the reason she kept calling her Her Royal Highness was just to provoke their resentment toward her. But she didn't want to tell the man any of this. I'm going to dig the ground under the horse's grave tomorrow, so I don't want to wear new clothes. Lately, this man seemed particularly wary of Sharpface and Big Guy, so she wanted to avoid saying anything that might trigger him as much as possible. I see. Then let's change into something softer. Also, use tools from now on. Don't dig the dirt with your hands. This man never stopped her in respect at all. Her actions, playing under the sun, has made you a bit tanned, but you look healthy. When I first met you, I was a bit worried because you were so pale and thin. Now you've become like a tomboy. This was the first time someone noticed the changes happening to her, and it was her first time coming out in the daylight to smell the green grass. So she only hoped this peaceful daily life wouldn't be taken away. Just then, footsteps came from behind. It was the gardener. Misa hurriedly continued digging, while Alaric confirmed with him whether the bird nests had been cleared. She didn't know if it was, because he was the one who brought her a new life. But sometimes Alaric's words made her feel a sense of wonder. The gardener looked like he wanted to say something, but he left without a word. Misa whispered, that person. He frowns every time I dig. Does he hate me doing this? Misa, you've dug so deep under the tree. No gardener would like that. Although the man was very kind to her, he answered very decisively on such matters. But if he speaks rudely to you, that's a different story. Also, Alaric's words never made her sad. Instead, I would punish him. At that moment, she even felt he was a character stepped out from a fairy tale. A merciful, just, and wise king. That night, Alaric started doing those strange and unnecessary things to her again. And as long as she didn't answer his questions properly, the man would stop and only continue after she replied. Misa was very angry. She wanted to take back her opinion of him from earlier. She liked being carried around by her husband, but she stubbornly refused to say why. So the man pushed her away. You can. Take your time. Answering. I can wait. Misa was unhappy. Clearly, he was the one who. And her wanting to be close was just to save both their lives. Why did he keep tormenting her? Because my legs cramp after walking for a long time. So I like it when you carry me. Can't they? Just get on with it. They're about to lose their lives. Why do those matter so much? She remembered Malika saying after checking her body a few days ago. Is the young count's state of mind changing? Because he has a mistress? Misa suddenly lunged at the man. Are we mistresses? Alaric was stunned. What mistress? Isn't it a special relationship between a man and a woman? Aren't we? No. We aren't mistresses, we're husband and wife. Then if we are husband and wife, can you still have a mistress? Alaric suddenly realized. Did they say weird things to you again? There are indeed cases where married people take mistresses. But I won't do that, other than you. There will be no other special woman by my side. And I also hope you don't have any other lovers besides me. He frowned. I really can't understand. Failing to remain chaste is one thing. But the important thing is that it's an act of betrayal. Alaric's arms tightened around her until Misa called out his name. Only then did he snap out of it. Besides that, did you learn your way of speaking lately from Jella? She seemed to be influenced by Jella. I guess so. Is it weird? Alaric's lips curled up. It's cute. Misa felt that as long as they finished what happened on the first night as soon as possible, it would be fine. Besides, the priest never spoke about these strange processes. But why was she always stirred by these unnecessary things, disturbing her peace of mind? The next day, the girl received a gift. The maids helped embroider a bib for her. Jella smiled even more happily than she did. My lady, you're so cute, just like an elf. But the head maid in the distance stared at them with a displeased expression. Not long ago, he had made a suggestion to Alaric. I don't think unconditional loyalty to the family counts as being truly faithful. I think when the young master goes astray, appropriate. He was interrupted halfway. Just say it directly, don't beat around the bush. Well, please just take back that one mistress in your concern for the young lady. Alaric froze for a moment. Then his tone turned cold. Mistress? Making me share a bed with someone I don't like is supposed to be loyalty? But young master, I really can't understand. After handing the knights over to Eberic, you spend every day with the young lady. What kind of feelings are you even communicating with someone you can't even talk to? Why give the relatives eyeing the succession a chance to strike? And lately, you only care about replacing the maids sent by the palace. Are those two women really that important? Is it because of the lack of supervision over the young lady that she goes to the garden to dig up saplings to vent? The master puts all his energy into hostesses, while the young master focuses all his attention on replacing maids, which has no benefit. The current situation makes me feel uneasy. Alaric didn't expect Eater to consider so much. Didn't you say it yourself? There are still things we don't know about that maid, Malika. Also, he looked at Karine. Does spending time with my own wife hinder? No, on the contrary, you actually solved the recent food crisis. We gave all the scrap iron loot to Marquis Watabo. He was so pleased that he gave us several years worth of food. After all, in the Watabo territory, which is agriculturally rich due to its vast plains, iron is very precious. Anyway, besides the Harlech iron mine, we have two other mines. Even our own weapons. Blacksmith shops can't keep up with the repairs. And ever since Lord Eberic took over the night training, the level of trust in the order has actually dropped. Because, after training, they start comparing him to the commander. All the knights report that he's not as good as you. Alaric looked at Eater again. If you have any other concerns, you can speak freely. After all, what you're in charge of now is important. You can't let yourself be wavered. Eater looked completely crestfallen. That's not it. It turns out you've already considered everything, young master. I spoke out of turn. A man who always judges things with logic is now, during the critical period of inheriting the family business, missing training just to stay by this woman's side. The one messing with the young master's judgment is actually a mentally unstable woman. And it wasn't just the young master. He originally thought the madam only felt pity for her, but at some point, the madam would lose her cool whenever it came to her. Just like with Miss Rosier. What should be done? Both the young master and the madam have been bewitched by her. That night, Alaric casually poured water on the floor. He had become so skilled that he'd help Misa tamper with the scene. Then, the girl suddenly had a new idea. I want to go outside and see. The book Jella read said there are many people on the streets. You want to go to the commoner's district? Sensing the hesitation in his tone, Misa began to persuade him in her own way. The book also said that in front of the shops, there are no courtyards, only continuous buildings. The commercial street is like that. While the man was hesitating. The girl's pitiful eyes were filled with anticipation. Is it? Not allowed. I want to go see. Alaric was hit right in the heart. The next day, under his mother's instructions, the young master took his little wife out for their first date. His husband is a war hero, yet she had become the only stain on this hero's life. For the first time, Misa realized that the marriage she was so satisfied with was a complete tragedy for Alaric. Since this was the princess's first time going out, his mother was worried and insisted they take Jella along. Alaric wanted to refuse, but then he suddenly thought of something. Fine. Tell her to come along. But as soon as they reached the commercial street, Alaric told Jella to get out of the carriage and return in 3 hours. Although Jella was happy to have a break, she was worried about Misa. But under pressure from Alaric, she could only do as told. I'll be back on time. She watched the carriage drive away with an uneasy heart. Nothing bad should happen, right? After the carriage had traveled a short distance, Alaric pulled back the curtain. Misa, you can get up now. The girl sat up and surprised her. Crystal-like eyes filled with wonder at discovering new things. This is the busiest street. Just like Jella said, there are so many people. That white building on the hill over there is the great temple where we had our wedding. Do you remember? I don't remember, because I was on sedatives then. Alaric looked down. It turned out that until now, she had never been out while fully conscious. Then take a good look. Alaric picked her up, letting her sit in his lap in a more comfortable position. All of this was normal to him. But it seemed very shocking to Misa. What does the world look like in her eyes right now? He wanted to know, but he decided not to disturb her for now. All along the way, the girl kept asking questions. What's that? It's a mat used for stalls. But most of the items are poor quality. Poor quality? If even you think the quality is bad, can they still be used? Alaric realized one thing. Misa had a serious misunderstanding about their territory. Because the war lasted for 12 years, when the ceasefire happened, the soldiers all returned at once, which caused a food shortage. Before, she often sat on his lap and peeked at various documents. After some thought in her little head, Misa concluded that Cladnir was not wealthy. Although, it was hard for him to imagine her, who didn't even know the most basic words, concentrating on reading those complex documents. After all, her logic was based on the palace, and adding the food issue, it was natural for her to think that way. He slowly explained it to her. The merchant groups also reduced the scale of trade because of the war, leading to a decrease in tax revenue. Although there was a period of financial shortage, it was solved long ago. Now everyone can make a living. Once we reach this year's harvest season, the problems will be easily resolved. Also, my parents don't like extravagance or waste. So there are no luxury goods at home. But the iron mines in the territory have increased too. 3 now. Currently, trade is being conducted through the North Sea ports. Not only that, but wolf and fox pelts, which can only be caught at the border, are also one of the main sources of income. Alaric suddenly paused. What on earth was he doing? Never mind, just forget what I just said. He now felt like someone trying to please a hunter by showing off his wealth. What's wrong? Nothing. It seems I've made you worry. Speaking of which, have you been uncomfortable in the territory because of this? No, absolutely. No discomfort. It's just that I thought the territory's food wasn't enough, so I left a few snacks behind. If I'd known, I would have eaten my fill. Alaric got out of the carriage, alone, told the driver to guard the door, and warned him not to open it under any circumstances. Knowing she hadn't eaten her fill, Alaric told her he was going to buy some food. There should be a cookie shop nearby. I'll pick out a few things you like. Wait for me here. So it turns out their family isn't poor. She really felt ridiculous thinking about it. The only place she had ever lived was the tiny Silea Palace. As for the main palace, she only had the chance to be forcibly dragged there. Yet, even so, she was still arrogant, even though she was treated worse than a beast. Deep down, she was still proud of being a member of the royal family. Because if she didn't think that way, she longed for was only possible once she was no longer royalty. She never imagined that the marriage she once feared so much would bring her such a peaceful daily routine. A sudden shout caused a commotion nearby. Look, it's the Cladnir family crest. The girl fearfully pulled the curtain tight. But the voices from outside made her curious again. The carriage has already entered. This is the first time I've seen the young master from such a close distance. So they were all discussing that man. I heard this is his first time appearing in the capital since he grew up. I told you so. With a face like that, it would be strange if word didn't spread. My sister, the Count's manner, said she saw him once on the wedding day. She said Cladnir's young master isn't even on the same level as those famous handsome lords. Did they mean that man was so ugly that everyone knew about it? The girl outside continued, using one phrase to describe him, an incomparable, peerless beauty. I heard he's so handsome, he'd make anyone who sees his face breathless. What? It turned out everyone seemed to like that man. Also, I heard from my father that if it weren't for him reversing the situation at the critical moment, we might well have lost the war. An affirming voice came from the side. That's right. If not for him, my hometown would have turned into a sea of fire long ago. At this moment, Misa gained a clear understanding of Alaric. He was the protagonist of the victory. She finally knew why people were so jubilant for him. and she understood that the emotion overflowing on their faces was awe. But did you know? What? Is that really true? Of course. Because of the heavy security at the state wedding, none of us saw anything. Does that mean the young master didn't know she was in that state when the wedding was held? How? Truly pitiful. Never mind. What right do we have to think the heir of such a great noble family is pitiful? Let's just go. See his face. Right as he arrived, the moment the man appeared, Misa saw two dim and gloomy faces among the cheering crowd. To her, this kind of expression was much more familiar, because the Alaric she knew had always been enduring things like that. Misa felt as if her head had been struck heavily by an invisible club. When Alaric returned to the carriage, his expression showed no sign of being shaken. He was still meticulous and gentle toward her, just as always. He was a person who should have been receiving cheers and adoration. But now, because of her, he was enduring those kinds of stares. She didn't want to admit that the marriage she was so satisfied with was actually a huge tragedy for him. She suddenly felt the man was so pitiful, and thinking that all of this was because of her, she felt very sorry. But if she felt sorry for ruining the man's life, what about her? Who would ever feel sorry for her life, which had been treated like that of an ant? Until now? When Alaric opened the box to give it to Misa, only then did he notice the girl's expression of terror mixed with a hint of anger. To her, Misa would start to run away in unexpected ways. She hid in her own world, keeping her heart tightly closed, even going so far as to please the man. As if those past injuries had never happened, but a bright surface couldn't hide an interior that had long since rotted. Alaric opened the cookie box. He didn't understand sweets, so he asked the shop for recommendations. He heard that in the southern regions, they put salted cream in egg tarts. Misa's voice was a bit unnatural. Are they egg tarts from Khalid? It seems so. It was then Alaric noticed his wife's abnormality. The girl suddenly turned her head away. I won't eat them, and don't open the box. I don't like these snacks. What on earth was wrong with her? Not only had she ruined this man's life, but now she was ignoring his sincerity. This time he would surely be angry. But Alaric's voice remained steady. It seems something happened while I was away. What was it? Here it came again. Those eyes of his seemed able to see through everything. Misa said words against her heart. Didn't I say it? I don't like them. Unexpectedly, the man suddenly grabbed her and turned her toward him. To be honest, it doesn't matter to me whether you eat these or not. It's just that your attitude now is completely different from before, so I'm asking you. What happened? While I was away, cracks began to appear in the high wall the girl had built over the years. And fear spread along with the cracks. Although I haven't known you for long, you're a straightforward person, and in most cases, you're quite gentle. Nothing happens for no reason. Especially certain behaviors. If you are unwilling to see something, there must be a reason. Eric's words shattered her already crumbling defenses, making it feel like she had nowhere to hide. Misha suddenly fainted. Shortly after, the carriage returned to the center of the square. Eric remained in the same position. The stone-paved road made the carriage shake violently. He carefully shielded Misha's head, and only then did the girl regain her senses. Because she was so panicked, she had pretended to pass out. Misha was troubled, even though they both held each other's lives in their hands. This man was the only one who knew her secret. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration to say she should ask for his cooperation. Yet, in this situation, she was playing games. It seemed she had grown used to being treated like a person lately, developing useless emotions and pride. Just like a fool, she had to get along with this man. So, when they got home, no matter what he asked, she had to smile. She stole a glance at Eric, but was startled by his expression. She knew he was actually a very serious person, but lately, the way he looked at her had always been gentle. Just as Misha felt uneasy, GLA returned. The girl froze. It was dark inside the carriage. He boarded with a questioning look. Why haven't you two opened the curtains? Eric sighed. Suddenly, he sensed something through a gap in the curtains. He saw several figures moving across the rooftops with incredible speed. Eric's gaze instantly changed. When they returned to the estate, they happened to run into the Count, who was about to head out. Despite being father and son, they looked at each other like strangers. Are you going out again today? At that moment, he thought of Idil's words. When he got out to greet his father, the carriage had already driven away. You won't even say hello now? Eric occasionally felt weighed down by the family crest. Since childhood, he was taught that all family matters must be decided with rational and correct judgment. But as the head of the house, is his father doing what he should? Actually, Idil wasn't entirely wrong. It is necessary to cut out the rotten parts. Young master, I see a box from a fancy bakery in the carriage. Should I take it out? You can have it. You can leave the lady to me now. Also, do you know how to use a dagger? GLA felt he should say no, but he couldn't lie to the commander, so he had to tell the truth. Yes, I'm good at using anything that can cut, Eric replied. with a simple very well and carried Misha back, leaving it confused. She lay behind. Through an upstairs window, two figures were visible, Malika and a stout maid. This is strange. Looking at them, they don't look like lovers. The maid disagreed. He might just like that kind of woman. Look, he even went out of his way to get her a secret gift. Malika still had a suspicious look. Whatever, it doesn't matter. If they aren't lovers, we'll just make them lovers. The two returned to the room. He placed the girl on the bed. Eric looked at her, lost in thought. He reached out his hand. The moment she was touched, Misha jolted awake. Her eyes were filled with terror. I'm sorry. You really fell asleep this time. Don't worry. Go back to sleep. I'll get dinner ready. Misha noticed his attitude hadn't changed, so she boldly grabbed his hand. Eric, are you mad at me? She knew he liked to hear about her. Actually, my mother was from the Southern Khalid region, so about what happened earlier. I'm sorry. Eric had actually investigated Misha long ago, but couldn't find her mother's origins. Her mother was the previous king's last consort. Unlike the others, she was just from an ordinary family. Unfortunately, not long after giving birth to Misha, the king passed away. Since then, the third consort became like a broken kite overnight. She took the newborn, Misha, and lived a life of dead silence in Celia Palace, until Belmar decimated the Salati family and blood stained the palace. That's why there's very little info on the third consort. So, do you hate everything about that region? Yes. Eric finally felt relieved. It seems I did something unnecessary. That's why I want you to tell me about yourself, my lady. What you like and what you don't. Telling me those things is good for you too, because it'll help me avoid mistakes. Misha submissively nuzzled his palm. Just when she thought she could get away with it, Eric's tone shifted. Anyway, thank you for telling me the truth. But besides that, something else happened today, right? Since it was his first time falling for the opposite sex, the man didn't know how to control these feelings. Compared to her proactivity, he was like a soldier who had dropped his armor. The girl was like a cat showing its belly to its master, pressing her husband's hand to her cheek, appearing harmless and innocent. However, when Eric asked why she had been angry with him earlier, she suddenly showed a look of terror. Her eyes darted around. It's just because of what I just said. Really? Eric had sighed more because of her today than in the past year. My lady. At the same time, he remembered her snoring. Eric was stunned. Is she faking sleep again? He had long guessed that Misha wouldn't let her guard down overnight, so it was fine if she didn't open up her heart. But he felt something was wrong. From his observations, Misha had a strong tendency toward avoidance. She seemed to turn a blind eye to the memories hidden deep within her soul, and this was something even she hadn't realized. Her behavior in the carriage could be considered a warning sign. Eric had witnessed countless deaths on the battlefield and seen many survivors, even well-trained adults, after seeing those scenes, would suffer from trauma. In a long time, she could always feel his sincerity toward her. He could have just been nice. On the surface, perhaps, he is truly a warm-hearted person. The next day, Eric took her out again. The lady of the house saw them off once more. Misha, have fun sightseeing today too. Idil looked serious. Once the carriage was far away, he finally couldn't help but speak. Is it really okay to keep letting things go like this? After all, the young master is also a man. Having a young woman constantly by his side, could it? What are you saying? Instead of that kind of woman, it would be better to find a young lady from a proper family to be the lady's maid. So he was referring to GLA. The lady smiled. Oh, honestly, you've seen for yourself how Eric treats the doctor, yet you're still worried about this. Besides, his wife is Misha. No matter who is around, they won't capture his heart. Haven't you noticed? Misha has been getting some healthy color lately. How cute, but she's still a bit thin. She looked at a nearby maid. Go to the kitchen and check what Misha likes to eat. Idil truly couldn't understand why this mother and son both favored that woman so much. At night, Eric was working alone in his study. Malika showed up at the pawn shop today. He's been quiet for a while. Seems like he's making a move again. But there's been no news from Crispin's side. Just then, the door opened. It was Misha who came to find him. The girl proactively asked her husband for a kiss, but was unromantically pushed away because Eric saw his little wife had an ulterior motive. Misha was held in place, unable to move, but in a blink, the man leaned over. Even though all these endless matters were weighing on him, when he saw Misha come to find him, he still set them aside. Can't you sleep? Do you want to sit on my lap like before? A single no made him freeze. The girl was clinging to the door as if ready to run at any moment. Locking eyes with him. Just tell me here. Fine. Go ahead. I've thought about it carefully, and I don't hate you anymore. Eric was stunned for several seconds, as if hit by lightning before he could react. His voice was full of disbelief. Did you actually hate me before? Misha didn't deny it. I don't hate you now. As soon as she said that, Eric abruptly stood up. He strode toward Misha. Did you have to think it over carefully just to realize you don't hate me? The girl took a timid step back, and her voice became much quieter. Are you going to get angry? Seeing Misha frightened, the man who was just boiling over immediately calmed down. No, I'm not going to get angry. Eric took her hand, as if afraid she would run if he was a second late. Come on, tell me why you hated me before. Does touching you like this make you feel uncomfortable? Misha thought about it. No. Eric finally let out a sigh of relief. He sounded helpless. Do you have to think for half a day, even for such a simple question? Luckily, when she asked why he was being so good to her last time, his answer was perfect. Otherwise, it would have led to an irreversible disaster. The girl frowned slightly. I don't feel uncomfortable. I just felt there was no need for this. Is that so? Well, it's normal for you to think that way. The usually serious man began to coax his wife. Could snap and go crazy in an instant. Yet lately, she's been acting almost too calm. Because she acts playful at times, he had overlooked it. But who knows? One day, all of Misha's suppressed emotions might just explode. Since that day, their relationship quickly returned to normal. Before bed, the girl would tell him what she liked to eat, and he would inform the kitchen the next day. They talked a lot lately, but it was all small talk. The girl blinked her eyes, looking expectant. After a light kiss on her forehead, she would actively tell him what she did during the day like a little chatterbox. But Eric didn't know how to calm his racing thoughts. Misha wasn't satisfied. Is that it? A man experiencing attraction for the first time was so caught up in his confused thoughts that he actually chose to run away. Don't you have anything else to say to me? These topics are things even strangers could talk about. To Eric, it wouldn't matter even if she threw a tantrum or broke things. As her husband, it's his duty to protect her. To him, the real problem was that he didn't know where this uncontrollable, strange emotion would lead. So he always tried to draw a line. Misha seemed to sense his mood. She answered cautiously, I don't know what people talk about with strangers, nor do I know what I should say in this situation. Because you are the only person I can talk to. Her expression was both hurt and embarrassed. At this moment, Eric felt like a complete fool. What on earth was he overthinking with someone who gets nervous just talking? Tell me about what happened during our last outing. I saw you didn't want to explain the reason, so I didn't push. I know that whenever you think about your past experiences, you get caught in a mess of complex emotions and end up exhausted. I think the fact that you can't hide those emotions from me is a good thing. After all, you've hidden them well from everyone else until now. Misha asked the question that had been lingering in her mind for a long time. Why? Why exactly are you being so good to me? Because you are now a member of the Cladnier family. Of course, there are other reasons, but he couldn't say them yet. A member of the family? Yes, which means we are family now. So, my lady, you can act out as much as you want and tell me what's on your mind whenever you wish. It's okay, but there are two things I hope you can follow. Honesty is very important. And remember, we will be standing on the same side from now on. So I hope you'll feel the same. Misha suddenly leaned in. I think you're right. I agree. After all, they were holding each other's lives. Eric was amused by her serious look. Maybe. What I mean is still a bit different from your understanding, but I believe one day we will be on the same page. You must be tired. Sleep early tonight. Having regained her sense of security, drowsiness hit her. Eric hadn't held her like this a long time. She could always feel his sincerity toward her. He could have just been nice. On the surface, perhaps, he is truly a warm-hearted person. The next day, Eric took her out again. The lady of the house saw them off once more. Misha, have fun sightseeing today too. Idil looked serious. Once the carriage was far away, he finally couldn't help but speak. Is it really okay to keep letting things go like this? After all, the young master is also a man. Having a young woman constantly by his side, could it? What are you saying? Instead of that kind of woman, it would be better to find a young lady from a proper family to be the lady's maid. So he was referring to GLA. The lady smiled. Oh, honestly, you've seen for yourself how Eric treats the doctor, yet you're still worried about this. Besides, his wife is Misha. No matter who is around, they won't capture his heart. Haven't you noticed? Misha has been getting some healthy color lately. How cute, but she's still a bit thin. She looked at a nearby maid. Go to the kitchen and check what Misha likes to eat. Idil truly couldn't understand why this mother and son both favored that woman so much. At night, Eric was working alone in his study. Malika showed up at the pawn shop today. He's been quiet for a while. Seems like he's making a move again. But there's been no news from Crispin's side. Just then, the door opened. It was Misha who came to find him. The girl proactively asked her husband for a kiss, but was unromantically pushed away because Eric saw his little wife had an ulterior motive. Misha was held in place, unable to move, but in a blink, the man leaned over. Even though all these endless matters were weighing on him, when he saw Misha come to find him, he still set them aside. Can't you sleep? Do you want to sit on my lap like before? A single no made him freeze. The girl was clinging to the door as if ready to run at any moment, locking eyes with him. Just tell me here. Fine. Go ahead. I've thought about it carefully, and I don't hate you anymore. Eric was stunned for several seconds, as if hit by lightning before he could react. His voice was full of disbelief. Did you actually hate me before? Misha didn't deny it. I don't hate you now. As soon as she said that, Eric abruptly stood up. He strode toward Misha. Did you have to think it over carefully just to realize you don't hate me? The girl took a timid step back, and her voice became much quieter. Are you going to get angry? Seeing Misha frightened, the man who was just boiling over immediately calmed down. No, I'm not going to get angry. Eric took her hand, as if afraid she would run if he was a second late. Come on, tell me why you hated me before. Does touching you like this make you feel uncomfortable? Misha thought about it. No. Eric finally let out a sigh of relief. He sounded helpless. Do you have to think for half a day, even for such a simple question? Luckily, when she asked why he was being so good to her last time, his answer was perfect. Otherwise, it would have led to an irreversible disaster. The girl frowned slightly. I don't feel uncomfortable. I just felt there was no need for this. Is that so? Well, it's normal for you to think that way. The usually serious man began to coax his wife. But fortunately, you don't hate me. And it doesn't make you uncomfortable. Thanks for telling me. As soon as you realized it, Misha blushed at the praise, the corners of her mouth curling up. It's nothing, he seemed to understand Misha a bit better now. But Eric, what are you doing? She poked her head out to peek at his desk. Nothing. Just some things. I need to verify. Seeing her curiosity, he invited her. You can take a look. Really? As soon as he said it, Misha scurried over. But you can't rip the documents on the left. Of course I won't rip things anymore. Eric soon noticed that Misha was an incredibly fast reader. And extremely focused. It was his first time seeing her read. It seemed she was more comfortable with text than talking. You're tracking Malika? Yes. For a split second, he thought he saw her frown. The girl pointed at the file. What's this about the Salati family? Isn't this family completely irrelevant now? An illegitimate son of the last head is still alive. I heard he's going to inherit the title. The girl occasionally asked questions, and Eric answered them truthfully, since he was the one who insisted on honesty. In a moment, she finished reading. If I want to see them, will you let me? In the future? Of course, whenever you want. So, do you still have work to do? Yes, he did have some unfinished business. But the girl didn't stand on ceremony. I want to sit on your lap. Okay, Eric helped her get settled. Despite his magnetic voice, he was saying boring things. There's nothing here that you'd find interesting, my lady. To Misha, that wasn't an issue at all. The little cat was about to stir up trouble. It's okay. But Eric, is kissing something that can only be done in the bedroom? I just thought about it. I don't think I just was all for nothing. Because he sensed his wife. I love you. As she leaned in closer, that beautiful voice came nearer to his ear. So can we. The romantic atmosphere was cut short. Eric actually used a finger on her chin to push her away. He lightly pressed against her lip. What are you? Up to this time, the hand holding her suddenly lowered, sending Misha leaning back like a sitting duck. Your acting is terrible right now. So this time, just tell the truth. Misha's upper body was forced to hang in midair. She flailed her arms to grab Eric, trying to get up, but she couldn't move an inch. The man's deep voice held a hint of sternness. So this time, tell me the truth. What did you think of that made you act like this? The girl spent every day thinking of how to win over her husband just to survive her crazy brother, the king. However, when she pulled open the man's clothes, she was hiding something. Eric pushed her away without hesitation. Misha was pinned down on his lap like a little chick. He wasn't going to let her up until she told the truth. The girl tried to play it off, saying she just realized how she felt about him and came to see him. She even accused him of not rewarding her. Eric watched her quietly. Right, those words are indeed important. After saying that, he kissed her. Misha was startled, then immediately wrapped her arms around him. As Eric supported her waist, she pounced. The man confirmed again, so it was just because of that? I'm doing this to save you. Did you forget? If we don't do it, the king will. Eric caught her restless hands. No, he won't. The king. Let us go last time. So he won't charge us with the same crime. The girl looked shocked. Why? Because that would mean the king has to admit his previous judgment was wrong. A girl confined in the palace for years didn't understand complex politics, but she could understand Eric's point. No wonder. He's been so relaxed lately. She was the only one stressing out. Nothing to worry about now, right? Wait a minute. She knew the king. Even if this can't be used against him, the man could still be executed for other reasons. So before this man dies, she had to do it. After all, if she ended up in another marriage, the next guy wouldn't be as nice as a Cladnir. Might as well make this marriage a bit more stable. Then go back to Celia Palace to live out her days in peace. Eric was confused by the girl again. My lady, just tell me why you want to do this. This was the first time Misha truly got angry with Eric. Maybe she felt slighted for being the only one worried all this time. Or maybe it was because this man was always doing useless things, which annoyed her. Does there have to be a reason? Seeing the man making excuses not to touch her made her feel randomly pissed off. She lost her cool and blurted out, just tell the truth. You just don't like my body. It's not like you can't just close your eyes and do it. What? Do you have no desire when you look at me? She had resolved to keep smiling in front of him, so why did these useless emotions keep surfacing? Eric's voice came from above. I don't know what you're talking about. He spoke slowly, with heavy restraint. You said that I don't like your body. As the bedroom door closed, the girl's stubborn voice rose again. I probably can't satisfy you. After all, I have so many scars and I'm not that attractive. From her previous outings, she already knew Eric's public image. He was a war hero and a total heartthrob in women's eyes. Handsome people must value looks a lot. A hand suddenly reached out, cutting off her wild thoughts. I have many scars too. Misha finally realized that compared to her, Eric's scars were much deeper. Who did this to you? This one is a scar left by Commander Satatai, and this one is from an axe a few years ago. It's not obvious when he's dressed, but up close, he looks much bigger and quite intimidating. Well, he mimicked Misha's tone, repeating her words. Is my lady unsatisfied with me too? Misha looked away, muttering that she was satisfied. Liar. You're avoiding eye contact. But even though I know it's a lie, I won't press you further. The rest of the details aren't that exciting, so I've skimmed through them for you. The next day, the scout gave a detailed report on Malika's movements. He seemed to stuff something into his pocket, since it was so small. We couldn't see what it was. After that, a carriage arrived at the pawn shop. An old woman got out to enter the shop. Just as we were about to investigate further, someone stopped her. Supposedly, it was because of a brooch she was selling. Just in case, we followed her. This is her address. The moment he saw the address, the scattered pieces in Eric's mind began to connect. The palace maids, the Crispin family, this old woman, and the link between his father and the mistress. When Eric finished his business and returned, he saw GLA reading to Misha. The moment the girl saw him, her face turned bright red and she turned away. Realizing the young master had teased the lady again, GLA could hardly look Eric in the eye. The marks on the girl's skin that had just faded reappeared after one night. Malika, however, was pleased. It seems the two of you are getting along very well. Is the young master going out with the princess today too? GLA's eyes flashed. She is the young lady, not the princess. And whether they go out is for the young master to decide. Even though he corrected him many times, Malika kept calling her princess on purpose. Anyway, I feel like that maid is testing me openly. I don't know what kind of tricks they're up to. It looks like they're about to make a move. In that case, we need to pretend to take the bait. Eric tossed a dagger to GLA. Karen will show you how to wear it. Today, get off midway as usual, then time it right to regroup with us. Unlike before, Eric actually put protective gear on Misha. Although I'll be by your side, I feel safer having you wear this. Because of what happened last night. Misha was still a bit shy to look at Eric. So if I wear this, it's okay even if I get stabbed? Can it block whips and axes too? How can you say such scary things? For whips it depends. It should block blades a bit, but axes are very dangerous. This disappointed Misha slightly. Eric helped her fasten the straps. There, that's done. Is it uncomfortable? He put on her cloak. It's fine. I want that. What is that? On the table were gifts from the maids. A ribbon to wear around the neck, tied with a bow in the back. Eric remembered she had worn it a few times lately. Was she getting interested in dressing up? Seeing Misha's flushed face and her waiting obediently made Eric's heart skip a beat. He actually started to feel shy too. I'm not very confident in how to make it look nice. Anyway, I hope we won't need any of this gear. As Eric said, they stayed in the carriage for a long time, and nothing happened. Just when he thought the day was ending, GLA appeared before them clutching an injured arm. He looked furious. "Commander, are you going to give me hazard pay? You're hurt." The girl boarded the carriage huffing. "Yes. But the part that hurts the most is my heart. It's all because of Karen. Amaneska. Karen and her brother Bale hate being called by their full names, because their surname sounds like a phrase in the Sitatai dialect." GLA knew this well. He was particularly angry as he recounted what just happened. As usual, he checked out some herbs, then bought some cookies, intending to kill time at a bookstore. But he ran into a thief. He got careless, and his wallet was snatched. While giving chase, he was unknowingly lured into a hidden alley. Later, he realized the guy had accomplices, but strangely, they all of them. They were all skin and bones, and many had lost their teeth. They smelled like they'd been soaking in a sewer. Wait, I don't need to describe the stench. Anyway, after talking to them, I found out they weren't just there to hurt me. They were going to kidnap me. They were about to put a sack over my head. So before I knew it, I fought back. Though, if I'd just gone with them, I could have found the mastermind and their base. But I just couldn't keep my cool. That's enough. You didn't have to do that. It's better if we can find out on the spot. Well, I do know exactly where to hit to make someone suffer. However, that wasn't why he was angry. Every time he attacked, even though there were people around, no one tried to ambush him. Not until he looked back and realized Karen was controlling the thugs and tossing them at him one by one. You have no idea how speechless I was. And while I was dealing with the enemies, he was actually counting. 18? No, it was 17. He thought that was the number of enemies Karen was helping him with, but the number kept going down. He probably meant your strength is about the same as his brother's. And he even explained it to me right there. It was annoying, but he was actually complimenting you. What happened next? After we rounded them all up, he actually asked me, since I was using brute force to handle them, when was I going to use the dagger in my hand? So I told him I'd use it during the interrogation. I saw 2 guys were still conscious, so I used the blade to slice their tendons first. Wait, Alaric cut off GLA's passionate speech. He was afraid the details were too bloody and would scare Misa. But to his surprise, the girl was covering her face with an excited look in her eyes. This wasn't how a normal person should react to hearing such things. Though confused, he let GLA continue. Under his questioning, they soon confessed everything. They were just part of the Thieves' Guild, so they didn't know the mastermind. But someone paid them to take her away and ruin her. Once she was pregnant with a child, they were to send her to the Border Earl's estate. Alaric could guess who did it. You've worked hard. Of course. I did. So, is there any danger today? Alaric had planned to use GLA as bait from the start, but the enemy was far more wicked than he imagined. This wasn't something that could be settled with just money. GLA smiled broadly. Anyway, I just got my revenge. So I have no regrets. You were saving up to buy a blacksmith shop in your hometown, right? Yeah, that was my father's competitor, but he seemed to have a lot of beef with my father. I'll use my own assets to buy it for you. But the paperwork takes a few weeks. You should have the title by next month. GLA was quite satisfied with that compensation. I'm a mess right now, so I'll head back with Karen. See you 2 tomorrow. After the girl left, Alaric's expression changed. They actually wanted to get GLA pregnant to pull me into a scandal. Misa whispered. The big guy and the sharp-faced guy said GLA was your lover. Alaric had a headache. Never. Mind that. My lady, are you all right now? As the old wounds were slowly uncovered, Alaric finally learned what the girl had been through. Yet for Misa, this was just the tip of the iceberg. The first time she saw blood, she was so young and terrified that she had nightmares all night long. But soon, she got used to it. When the king killed someone, she would stand aside and smile, because if she didn't smile, that sword might be swung at her. She could even sleep among piles of corpses. Back then, she was still very small. She didn't have to do much for everyone to think she was crazy. But 2 years ago, the maids began to suspect she'd regained her sanity, because almost everyone who could be killed was already dead. She didn't have to be with corpses every day, so she had to start acting strangely, because those crazy actions silenced everyone who doubted her. Alaric couldn't imagine what Misa had endured, yet she could recount these horrific things so calmly. But why was she specifically afraid of birds? And why did she refuse to step into the chapel? My lady, do you still have things you hate or fear? You don't have to say if you don't want to. I won't force you. Misa didn't want to remember her childhood, even the happy moments. Can I ask why? Because it's a secret that can't be told. It comes with a high price. We didn't go all the way last night, right? As a child, she spent a very happy time in the Celia Palace. Although, It wasn't a luxurious place compared to the main palace. She had a mother who was sometimes strict, but very gentle. Misa, you're stealing candy again. On rainy days, the goddess will take away naughty children. Everyone there would smile at her. However, whenever the king's lapdog, the court earl, came to whisper to her mother would look upset all day. This made her very sad. That day she had a bad feeling, because everyone in the palace had a gloomy expression. She still remembered it rained heavily that day. The deafening thunder was like a precursor to disaster, as if the heavens were punishing her for being naughty. And it was on that day that Bellamur bloodied the Celia Palace. Misa, mommy, might have done something wrong. But even if mommy made a mistake, she has to be punished, right? No, let's hide together. I don't want mommy to be punished. Even if you don't want to. There's no way. Mommy probably won't survive. But Misa, no matter what, you must stay alive. Whether you hide under corpses or play dumb, you must survive. It won't be long. Everyone died a tragic death. She didn't know what was happening or understand her mother's words, but she still tried her best to do as she was told. But despite Bellamur's cruelty, he still sat firmly on the throne. At some point, exhausted, she began to feel her mother's words were selfish, because she was clearly just a little child who couldn't survive on her own. Despite that, she stubbornly survived. During the first few months sleeping in the main palace, she was truly terrified. Back then, she must have really been out of her mind, so Bellamur didn't get rid of her. For a while, she often cried because she missed her mother. But soon, she couldn't shed a single tear anymore. Her name. My mother gave it to me. She had to beg the king for a long time to get it. Because whenever the poison mist fills the air, the corners of the mouth turn up. She hoped everyone would smile when they called my name. I believe everyone around you will be happy because of you. For a long time after that, no one called her name. Even if someone mentioned it, it was full of malice. Misa? She doesn't act like a human at all. She's worse than an animal, licking the floor in front of the enemy who killed her mother, like a rat who loves to act. Didn't I tell you not to move when you're drinking something? She was often forced to take strange drugs. Although she could spit out some by playing crazy, some would still slide down her throat. Every time she looked up, she would see the man sitting high above. She knew the more miserable she was, the happier Bellamur would be. The next day, when Alaric woke up, he saw Misa's face while she was fast asleep. He stared at her for a long, long time, because the fact that Misa could sleep soundly in his arms made him so incredibly happy. Misa being coerced completely enraged Alaric. The protective husband mode was on. As the young couple successfully spent their first night together, the royal conspiracy emerged. Misa endured the shame while Malika and the fat maid inspected her. She thought Malika's goal was just to report to the king, but she said the timing was perfect and brought a lot of clothes and makeup. She picked through them and ordered the fat maid. Hold her gently. It'll be a mess if she has an episode now. Misa felt a faint sense of unease. Then she saw her pick up a revealing dress. Since you've won your husband's favor, of course you have to find a way to keep it. Shortly after, GLA arrived. He greeted Baylor, who was guarding the door, and entered the room. But it was empty. While he was confused, the sound of something falling came from the inner room. Where is it? Found it. Malika picked up a box of rouge. Didn't I tell you to hold her tight? Misa had just knocked all the makeup onto the floor. Usually, she'd be beaten for resisting like that, but today they only cared about finding that little box of rouge. Something was wrong. She swiped the brush away again. Malika lost her patience, but she still didn't hit her. Instead, she scooped out some rouge with her finger. Hold her steady. I'm in a hurry today, so let's finish this quickly. Normally, if she didn't cooperate even a little, she'd be punished. This was all too weird. Just then, GLA's voice sounded from outside. My lady, are you in here? Why is the door locked? Malika was startled. Why is that woman still here? Almost at the same time, Misa started screaming, although the fat maid instantly covered her mouth. GLA heard her from outside. My lady, are you in there? He pounded on the wooden door. Shoot. The wound on his arm reopened. He immediately shouted outside, Baylor, get over here. The fat maid panicked. They wouldn't break in, would they? How about next time? Malika looked crazed. Let go. We must finish this before they get in. Did it before. Now she was sure something was wrong. If they ask, we'll just say the princess wasn't cooperating. So we locked the door. That door is made of ebony. It's hard to break from the outside. The fat maid hesitated. I don't know anything about this. I'm just following your orders. With that, she let go of Misa. As Malika approached, she got a face full of spit. The girl suppressed her fear. She had to buy time. Every time they did something like this, she survived, didn't she? So, she would definitely be fine this time too. But Malika suddenly stopped. What's going on? This brat's expression looks like a normal person's. Damn it, without realizing it. If I look away now, it'll be even weirder. How could I make such a rookie mistake? This sudden surge of panic made her blood feel like it was freezing. When Misa looked up again, she saw the last thing she wanted to see. No matter how Baylor hit the door, it wouldn't budge. Just as GLA was about to look for the keys, Alaric arrived. GLA quickly told him what he knew. Alaric didn't stop. Move aside. GLA was stunned. He'd never seen the captain look like this. Then, a loud crash. The door Baylor couldn't budge was kicked flying. Alaric was radiating pure killing intent. Tie them up. Malika backed away in terror. Wait a minute. Before that, I have something to tell you. Shut your trap, you old hag. GLA punched her. He pinned Malika hard to the ground. How dare you do this to my lady? Misa, are you hurt? The girl snapped out of it. The next second, she was in Alaric's arms. He patted her back and comforted her softly. It's okay now. It's okay. The familiar warmth and voice slowly calmed her down. Malika suddenly started screaming. Young lord, listen to me. That girl is no different from a normal person. You've all been fooled by her. GLA. Alaric barked. Gag her right now. To keep the secret of Misa's act, Alaric personally executed the maids. Even after being pinned by GLA, Malika still screamed desperately. You've all been tricked. That brat has been playing dumb. GLA. Gag her this instant. The rest of her words were muffled as she was gagged. Alaric held the trembling girl. I know what's going on. Don't worry. It's okay now. But Misa, having been exposed, was still shaking with fear. Alaric's eyes were full of heartache. Later, he picked up the box of rouge. His subordinate reported. At the time, she seemed to be trying to put this makeup on my lady, and her fingers were stained with the color. When Alaric first entered the room, he noticed signs of a struggle. If Misa had resisted so fiercely, there must have been a reason for it. Don't you think it's strange too? Just give me 2 days. Can you figure out the ingredients in 2 days? That long? Didn't you set a perfectly good example earlier? GLA was stunned. Then he saw the captain walk toward Malika, who looked terrified. Alaric scooped up a large glob of rouge. Is this just ordinary makeup? Malika's expression turned from nervous to pure horror. She shook her head and struggled desperately. Alaric's voice suddenly turned cold. You don't have to answer. Try it for yourself. Malika was forced to open her mouth. She was trembling violently. This only confirmed Alaric's suspicion. Seems there's no need to gag her anymore. Hold her. Don't let her spit it out. As he pressed on her throat, Malika was forced to swallow the rouge. Before long, she began foaming at the mouth, and with every cough, she spat out blood. In a few moments, she stopped responding. GLA, go check. The girl peeled back Malika's eyelids. She's dead. Alaric clenched his fists. He felt that the angrier he got, the clearer his mind became. The answer was obvious. He wanted to use Misa to slowly poison them. They didn't fake an accident, nor did they try to end it all at once. Instead, they chose the slowest method. In the previous investigation, the old man entering the tavern was the mother of the Crispin family's vice captain of the knights, though because of his crude methods, they handled the dirty work for the Crispin family, and his mother's brother happened to be the head of the Thieves Guild, the group that attacked GLA. Everything pointed to the Crispin family. But what was their motive? Arranging a mistress for his father? Kidnapping GLA to cause a scandal? Or coveting the position of the Lady of Cladnir? However, what bothered Alaric most was that this info was found in just a few days, yet they couldn't find the mastermind behind the previous bar girl. Their methods are inconsistent. What if the mastermind isn't Crispin? Crispin proposed an alliance to cause chaos. If everything at the root is just bait, then they are being used just like Cladnir. Everything makes sense now. There is only one mastermind. This poisoning incident. If successful, it wouldn't take long for Cladnir to find out that Crispin did it. A rift would form between the families. How far did the king plan this? Whether he frames them for failing skills were outstanding. He failed to become the princess or sets a trap for Crispin. It doesn't matter to the king, because the result he wants is the downfall of both families. In that case, he would play along. Madame Dial, what happened here? The fat maid looked away. I don't know. I was just doing what she told me to. Alaric began to lead her on. So you didn't know? As far as I know, Madame Malika had a lot of issues. I heard she couldn't pay off her father's debts and was caught stealing and selling palace items. In the end, she bribed head maid Namiria a huge sum to settle it. So I wonder if this incident was also because she needed money. Started deflecting. That's exactly what I thought. For disrespect. She told me that if Crispin was behind everything and shared a room. I often saw her meeting with their maids. Having got the answer he wanted, Alaric looked at Karen. Go to the palace now and report the rift between the two families. Say Crispin is coveting the Cladnier family and tried to frame the young lady. And GLA, go confirm the drug's ingredients. After handling the aftermath, Alaric went to his mother's room. His mother was furious. How dare Crispin do such a thing to Misa? Before, they even dropped a handkerchief telling you not to have children. Mother, what's important now isn't Crispin, showed but that the maid's professionalism in examining the scene. The royals will be here soon. I need someone to go with Dial to confirm the testimony. Otherwise, the king might take her away and twist the truth to attack us. Eater, who do you think would be suitable? Is there someone not influenced by the king? Eater thought for a moment. I think someone from the Duke Salicati family would be best. He treated his crazy sister like a toy, giving her to a decorated official as a bride. If they neglected the princess, the king would frame maid would poison the Cladnier air through the princess's lipstick. Then frame Crispin, killing two birds with one stone. If the three pillars fall, there will be no great nobles left to threaten the throne. After killing Malika, to prevent the king from taking the other maid and altering her story, they brought in the young head of the Salicati family, Do it. He is the only one to survive the king's blade. He's unsophisticated and has no ability to fight the king because he is the illegitimate son of the former head and a servant. He just came of age and received his title. After explaining the situation to Duid, the king's men happened to arrive, but the first thing they said made Alaric wary. He asked urgently if Misa was all right, or if she was frightened by witnessing Malika's death. His expression made Alaric feel strangely uncomfortable. The man's name was Tybrig of the Royal Guard. He was the complete opposite of the king, humble and polite to an amazing degree. Soon they reached the inner room. Duid looked like he'd never seen anything like it. What a horrific scene. Tybrig kept asking about the princess. Where is the young lady now? I wonder how she's doing. Alaric suddenly smiled. Currently, my mother is taking care of her. As Tybrig was about to ask more, Dial shouted as if seeing a savior, Captain Tybrig, compared to his strange behavior earlier. With just a glance, he basically reconstructed the scene of Malika's death and easily accepted their explanation. Regarding the follow-up investigation, he only said he'd notify them of any progress. And due to Alaric's leading, Dial shifted all the blame to Malika and revealed that she had been in contact with the Crispins. They must have been plotting something in secret. Tybrig picked up the rouge. Then why apply makeup to the princess? Or rather, the young countess? Because the young count and the princess have a very good relationship. They are often together. The young count takes meticulous care of her highness. The bedroom this morning was quite messy, the kind that makes us blush. Malika said that since the princess finally won her husband's favor, she couldn't afford to lose it. Duid suddenly coughed. That's a nice story, but shouldn't we hear from the other maids for fairness? Doesn't he look like he has a lot to say as well? Well, what I witnessed was a bit different from what she said. When the young lord kicked open the door, what met our eyes were signs of the young lady's desperate resistance, and the sight of Madame Dial holding her down. GLA gave Karen a look. Immediately after, the man was pinned to the ground. At that time, Madame Dial was holding her down with a terrifying expression, like she was a prisoner. Tybrig's expression changed instantly. He spoke coldly, "Take Dial away." Only then did she realize she'd been tricked. She cried out her innocence. Alaric had just misled her into dumping all the blame on Malika, insinuating it would help her escape punishment. She had been played by the young lord of Cladnier. Once the Alaric went to his mother's place to see Misa, they discussed Tybrig as someone sent by the king. Not only did he not make things difficult, he let everything proceed far too smoothly. The countess asked Eater to investigate him. Just as Alaric was preparing to leave, someone from the Crispin family arrived for an audience. It was none other than the woman previously betrothed to Alaric. Before marrying Misa, Alaric had a fiancée because the two families planned to rebel together. There is no firmer alliance than marriage. And now, because of the poisoning incident involving Crispin, his former fiancée came to apologize, just as they were ending their talk. His father suddenly barged in. How strange. When I wanted you to marry, you wouldn't even look at each other. Now, you're having a secret meeting. Alaric ignored his father and told Crispin to leave. After she left, the two had their first violent argument, from executing the king's people, for Misa, to handing the knights over to Alberic for training. His father's dissatisfaction had reached its limit. Do you want to give your position to someone else? Aren't you the same, father? I've been eyeing the headship, and you gave me the chance. His son's defiance enraged the count. You wet behind the ears, boy. Alaric walked toward him. Then how much does father actually know? Do you know the king is manipulating all of this? Even the woman who is with you now? Even the marriage to Crispin was the king's plan. We are all tied to the strings in the king's hands, dancing like puppets. Alaric's recent investigations and suspicions were confirmed during the talk with Lady Crispin. It turned out they were also pawns in the king's hands. His father was incompetent and couldn't win the emperor's favor, so the mother believed the rumors and employed the wrong person, making her family a scapegoat in the poisoning. The king plans to kill two birds with one stone. Even if he can't eliminate Cladnell's heir, poisoning the princess gives him an excuse to wipe out Christine. So Eric made a move before the king could, demanding to settle things privately with Crispin. Of course, the required punishment and restitution will be paid in full, but Crispin will no longer play a part in the rebellion. They've lost another ally, yet his father remains oblivious. The old earl can't believe it. What are you talking about? I'll have Karen report to you tomorrow. Just listen to what she has to say. What do you mean by the king's arrangement? What does this even mean? Eric knew his father wouldn't easily admit his mistakes. You should go apologize to mother. Apologize for what? What man at this age doesn't have a mistress or two? What do you take mother for? What I want you to apologize for is putting the family in danger. Is this how the lady of the house should be treated? The father he once admired has long since vanished without a trace. You taught me that mistakes made from incompetence can be corrected, but if there's deception and malice involved, they don't deserve forgiveness. How can the man who said those words become like this? You wouldn't understand. Spending my life with a woman who looks down on everything I do. Your mother is indeed exceptional, but because she's so perfect, she mocks everything I do. You, who treats a foolish woman like a lady to be protected, will never understand. So, was it to escape mother's mockery that you let a woman like that stab you in the back? His father was once the perfect patriarch. Seeing him like this now, Eric couldn't help but feel betrayed. Even just looking at him in silence was becoming unbearable. Thanks to you, I've learned a lesson. If I don't want to be a joke in my old age, I know how I must live. The next day, Misa, who had been depressed all day due to the poisoning, showed a rare look of joy upon hearing that Tybrig was coming. This gave Eric a faint sense of unease. Why are you so happy to hear he's here? The girl covered her face and refused to speak to her husband, simply because she didn't want to be intimate. After spending the whole night trying to coax his wife, Eric was seen as insatiable. Listen, honey, I didn't plan on doing anything to you today because Misa wasn't good at expressing herself. Eric always paid extra attention. Noticing she was distracted today, he took her hand. You don't look well. Are you feeling sick? It turned out that because Marika, who always bullied her, died so easily, Misa felt a sense of relief. At first, her only regret was not seeing it happen, but the ensuing chaos slowly turned into fear. On one hand, it was because of her sudden death. On the other, it was because Marika knew her secret before she died. At some point, she began to indulge in the kindness of the Cladnell family, letting her guard down. For 12 years at the palace, no one ever suspected her. But here, her secret has been discovered twice in a row. That's no longer just a coincidence or a matter of luck. I wonder whether things could really go on like this. She nuzzled Eric's palm. My mind is just a mess right now. Eric held her and patted her back, constantly reassuring her. It's okay. His voice was full of tenderness. How about I take you out for some fresh air? Eric's embrace was warm. And his hands were warm too. So warm that she wanted to let go of all her burdens and just enjoy this moment. Look, the moonlight is so bright tonight. The night breeze is a bit chilly, but Misa felt no cold sitting in his arms. My lady, is your mind still in a whirl? I have an idea. What is it? You might think it's a bit childish. First, close your eyes. This was a method Eric often used to coax his younger sister when they were kids. Is everything pitch black now? Misa nodded. Imagine those black things are your various thoughts, and then fold them up bit by bit. The girl frowned. How do I fold them? Eric was amused by her adorable expression. He gently smoothed her furrowed brow. You don't literally fold them. Use your imagination. How many times should I fold them? Fold them until they're all crumpled up. Then, imagine there's a pocket and put them all inside. Are they in? Misa gave a soft reply. Now, throw that pocket somewhere out of sight. Well, do you feel any better? Since it was a method for children, it naturally didn't work for the adult Misa. Eric looked at his confused little wife with some embarrassment. I guess that method Didn't work. Let me think again. Do you want to hear stories about the constellations? Misa blinked. Eric breathed a sigh of relief. So she likes this kind of thing. Do you see that cluster of stars over there? If you look closely, he went on telling one constellation story after another. The girl's eyes widened in surprise. When he got to the interesting parts, her usual smile finally returned. Any more? I want to hear more. That's enough for today. I'll think of more stories to tell tomorrow. Eric suddenly remembered something. Oh, right. Do you know Captain Tybrig of the Gold Guard? I do. Then do you know what kind of person he is? Tybrig? He's a liar. Eric was shocked. What? Misa gave a strange smile. And he's a traitor. 87. From what Eric had observed, although Tybrig's behavior was somewhat unexpected, the words liar and traitor didn't seem to fit him at all. Misa looked puzzled. Why? Are you asking about the captain of the Gold Guard? He came to the estate yesterday to investigate. Upon hearing he was there, Misa lit up with joy. He came here? Eric was even more confused. Didn't you say he was a traitor? Yet you're so happy? Yeah, but we're very good friends. Do you know what friends means? Of course. He often used to play with me. Eric couldn't help but worry. After all, his wife was quite naive. What did you guys play? He taught me a lot of things. Like what? Never mind. Let's talk about the liar thing first. About the liar thing. What is his goal, and who did he deceive? The girl's expression suddenly shifted. She asked instead, will Tybrig come back? Misa, you have to answer my question first. This time. She ignored him completely. Not only did she not answer, she changed the subject. Aren't we already finished with our business? Eric instantly felt uneasy. Wait, don't tell me you're refusing to talk to me just because we finished that business? We can still keep doing that in the future. Misa was shocked. You mean we have to keep doing that? Even though they were husband and wife, they both turned beet red over the topic. Misa didn't let Eric off the hook. So that's something people do repeatedly? She regretted it as soon as she said it. She quickly covered her mouth and turned away. I really haven't said much today regarding Tybrig. I've barely said anything at all. This made Eric's defenses crumble. He felt both embarrassed and hurt. I didn't plan on doing anything today anyway. You're so exhausted. Basically, I didn't have that on my mind at all. Noticing Eric's frustration, Misa realized she had overreacted. I'm sorry. I was just a little startled. She leaned gently into Eric's arms. You're right. I'm really tired today. I just want to rest. Her brother was a tyrant who killed his own sibling. To survive, she had spent over 10 years pretending to be crazy, hiding her emotions and expecting nothing. Although she accepted Cladnell's kindness, she was prepared to leave at any moment, knowing her mad brother would never tolerate them. But today, she was afraid. Eric sat by the bed, giving no response no matter how she called him. A bolt of lightning flashed, illuminating the blood on the man's back. When Eric turned, his face was covered in blood. Misa's mind felt like it had exploded. For the first time, she realized how much she didn't want to lose this man. Was it a dream? She looked at the sleeping person beside her and reached out a trembling hand. Only after confirming he was breathing did she sigh in relief. She lay down carefully and moved closer, whispering in her heart, you can't just leave me and die alone. How could Misa not understand Eric's kindness? He didn't just save her, he silenced the palace servants. If word that her madness was an act reached the palace as a claimant to the throne, she wouldn't survive another day. Looking back, every time she was in trouble, Eric was by her side. Until recently, she thought that even if he did nothing, as long as he lived a bit longer, it would be enough. But now, even for just one more day, she hoped to be with him. The next day, when Eric woke up, he realized Misa was already awake. Why didn't you wake me? She wanted to find something to distract herself. Can I go out today? Because of recent events, Eric's workload had increased, so he couldn't take her out. Well, can I walk around the house? Eric pondered. My father is home, but you can be with Glara as usual. Just don't go to the second floor of the East Wing. If you run into my father, don't take anything he says to heart. So you mean I can walk through the East Room? So happy. Eric, who had just woken up, was already a bit dazed, and Misa's smile made him feel even more out of it. He smiled and leaned toward Misa. What's so great about being able to walk around? Just as he was about to kiss the girl, he suddenly stopped. The memory of last night surfaced. Misa's reaction back then sent him a signal that his wife didn't enjoy this intimacy. He didn't continue. It's still early. Why not sleep a bit more? You look like you haven't slept much at all. Or do you want breakfast? Although Misa wondered why Eric didn't kiss her, she didn't dwell on it for long. From that day on, she started exploring everywhere in the estate with Glara, as if something terrible would happen. The moment she stopped, perhaps some would not find her behavior Strange, but others seeing her unusually lively routine might start to have doubts. Clara collapsed on the floor. My lady, aren't you tired? But seeing you like this puts me at ease. I was worried about what to do if you stayed so listless. Just then, voices came from the other side of the wardrobe. It turned out to be the Earl and the Countess. I promise I won't look at another woman again. It's only natural that you're angry. I apologize to you. But how? Could you team up with our son to stab me in the back? Clara just wanted to get Misa away quickly, but the more she pulled, the more Misa leaned in. You can't do this. If the master finds out, No, only I will be dead. Compared to Clara's panic, Misa was listening with great interest. Helpless, Clara could only stuff a piece of candy in her mouth. Don't misunderstand. I don't care at all about you and that woman. Instead, I consider you a good friend. After all, you were quite loyal as a husband in the past. I think for both you and me, it's time to break free from family ties and live a comfortable life. What does that mean? You just said you considered me a good friend, and now? Don't tell me you want to go find other men too. The Countess was laughed at her husband's bizarre logic. To me, that kind of passion is strange. You're at such an age and still have the energy for that. In any case, the king sees us as a thorn in his side. We must hurry. The Earl suddenly roared in anger. You just want Eric to inherit the title before next spring, don't you? You've already discussed it all, and now you're just giving me a unilateral notice. Don't you know how much I've sacrificed for this family all this time? Isn't it clear? But how could you do this to me? The Countess's voice grew colder. If you don't want others to know you nearly put the family in danger as its head, then step down quietly while you're being given the chance. I'm not negotiating with you right now. If you want to spend your later years living comfortably with that woman, then snap out of it. Never mind. There's no need to wait for next year. Starting tomorrow. Tomorrow. Get ready to inherit the family business. Upon learning that his wife hadn't had her period, Eric was completely stunned. Meanwhile, Misa actually exposed herself in front of Clara. After accidentally overhearing the conversation between the Countess and carried Misa and ran in the opposite direction. His head was spinning with the dialogue he just heard. He had clumsily stumbled upon the master's secret. As he passed the maids, one of the girls suddenly stopped him to ask what the princess used during her period. In the past 6 months, they had never once received any laundry from the young lady's menstrual cycle. Since the palace maids weren't around, they wondered if they should take over the task. After bringing Misa back, Clara hesitated before deciding to ask the young master, it seems the young lady hasn't had her period lately. Eric, who was playing with Misa, was instantly dumbfounded. He let go, and the girl fell against his legs. He was so shocked he couldn't even speak straight. He struggled to get a full sentence out. Clara quickly waved her hands to explain. I mean, her cycle seems irregular. I'm not saying she's pregnant. I've served her for over 2 months, and she hasn't had a period once. The laundry maid said they've never washed bloodstained clothes. They asked the palace maids, who said they'd handle it, but I don't think they would do it personally. After all, they aren't that kind of people. I just find it very strange. This was completely out of Eric's expertise. I don't know much about this. What does it mean? What is the lady's current physical condition? Clara feared saying the wrong thing might make the captain neglect his wife. But seeing how good their relationship seemed, he hesitantly voiced his suspicion. What I mean is that she might have difficulty conceiving. Eric showed no emotion. Usually, what causes this? She was malnourished before. Maybe that's it. After all, that's the most common cause of irregular cycles. Misa listened quietly. Even though it was about her, she didn't understand a word. She really wanted to ask Eric what they were saying. Eric asked again, what if that isn't the reason? Clara hesitated. Actually, I don't know if I should say this. Aren't there rumors about Archduke Heikai? That he had an accident that led to infertility? I used to think the lady's pale, thin nails were from malnutrition, but thinking about it now, that might be a symptom of long-term poisoning from medication. Eric lowered his head. If it's from medication, can you find out? Actually, asking her is most accurate. If it really is poison, we need to know what it is to determine if it's a systemic or localized issue. Also, some poisons react poorly with certain foods and could cause serious trouble. Misa suddenly sat up. What do you mean by serious trouble? 243. Clara suddenly realized. He screamed in terror and fell to the ground. His voice was trembling. My lady. You. Eric looked at his wife. Is it okay like this? Misa nodded. I think telling Clara is fine. But Eric didn't agree. What if word got out due to his negligence? But since the lady had already revealed herself, there was no choice. His tone suddenly turned cold. I'll just have to send someone to the Karate's territory to seize his entire family. Clara was. No, young master. Misa grabbed him. Don't do that, Eric. I heard his sister, Lola, is getting married soon. She's someone Clara likes very much. Let them get married. Eric still disagreed. That reason alone isn't enough to let them go. Misa hugged him directly, her tone both playful and stubborn. I think having Clara around makes me more comfortable. Can't you just let it be? The girl's naturally sweet voice combined with that expression made him completely unable to resist. If that's the reason, then fine. Really? Misa turned sharply to Glara. Glara, pull yourself together. You need to show Eric you're reliable. Sighed. Glara still hadn't processed the fact that the young lady wasn't crazy. I'm sorry, I need to calm down. Misa laughed and pulled Eric away. Fine, once you've calmed down, tell me. I have to say, what medications I've taken. Unfortunately, Misa had taken too many to count. Glara couldn't judge them all at once. Moreover, she had been heavily sedated for a long time. Recalling the scene from their wedding night, Eric was filled with rage at the thought that such a state might have been her daily life. Finally, Glara asked to take a strand of her hair to test for toxins. Seeing Glara communicate with Eric using sign language, Misa was full of curiosity. Little did Glara know that the next day, under the Countess's sharp gaze, he would mess up immediately. Why are you looking at Misa with that expression? Did something happen to her? Glara panicked until his face turned pale. It's not like that. Misa glared. Don't let it slip. Play along. When he first saw the princess's injuries, Glara felt a strange sense of anger. He couldn't imagine how Misa had survived in the palace. Although she looked healthier under Cladnell's care, he knew that wasn't the whole story. Her stiff legs and the terrifying scars from the two maids who treated her cruelly all showed she still carried the wounds of the past. Though she seemed asymptomatic now, what if she took a drug with a long incubation period? Because of the research he was doing, he was late. Yesterday, he learned the shocking truth that the young lady wasn't crazy. Not only that, when she stood beside the young master, she looked like a princess out of a painting. He had to be natural, but unfortunately, the more Glara thought about it, the worse he performed. The Countess looked suspicious. What's wrong? Did something happen to Misa? He hurriedly denied it, but his voice was too loud. The Countess frowned. I have a bit of a headache. Lower your voice. Why are you looking at Misa like that? Well, I'm just worried she's too tired. Why would she be? She was just playing happily a moment ago. Seeing a mess brewing, Misa quickly approached Glara. As soon as Glara picked her up, Misa whispered in a voice only quickly. He immediately played along. It seems the young lady is sleepy. Fine, that's enough. Hurry up and carry her back to rest. The girl's voice carried a hint of resentment. I'm almost starting to regret this. Why are your actions so unnatural? Are they? Of course they are. With that, she let go and slid off his back. Glara froze because Misa's movements were perfectly fluid, with no sign of a limp at all. My lady, so there's nothing wrong with your leg. I always thought it was strange how you'd always limp, yet when I bathed you, there were no such injuries. Misa lifted her skirt. The scars are on the back of my thigh. Do you want to see? You're likely talking about whip scars, but the way you usually walk, it's as if a tendon was severed. I checked the scars on the back of your thigh. Those wouldn't cause you to limp. Misa was a bit surprised. Would others have noticed too? Is the doctor who treated you in the palace? She shook her head. How could I possibly have a personal doctor? What about the people who served you before? Those people are all dead. It's terrible to say that about them, but it really is a stroke of luck. He suddenly noticed Misa's expression was off. Don't worry, my lady, unless it's someone like me who has treated many patients, they wouldn't know. Did the young master not notice either? At first he didn't seem to, but later he figured it out. I see. By the way, Glara looked a bit embarrassed. I'm sorry, I never knew you could understand me. Misa was stunned. Understand what? All those bad things I said about the young master in front of you. Oh, that? The girl's tone suddenly changed, perfectly mimicking him. Does that guy even count as a human? No matter what, how could he touch someone who doesn't understand anything? Glara shrieked. My lady, Misa continued. Unfazed, whether it's my lowly father or the noble young master, they're all the same. Men really are animals that think with their lower halves. Glara collapsed in despair. I beg of you, please forget I said that. Misa's voice returned to normal. So, did you find out what the poison is? Seeing him falter, it seems you haven't yet. I'm sorry, I'll keep investigating. By the way, what you said about being hard to get pregnant. What was that about? Glara stammered, unable to find the words. If it's inconvenient for you, I'll just go ask Eric. No, I'll tell you. It's just that, you might not be able to have children. Misa was confused. So, is being unable to have children a shameful thing? Not exactly, but for a family like the young master's, succession is very important. So if you can't have children, Glara didn't finish, but Misa understood. You mean my situation will become very difficult, right? Normally speaking, yes. I see. That's the first time I've heard that. But then again, when has my situation ever been good? Misa's long-closed heart was finally being opened bit by Eric. For a girl still naive about love, it was the first time she felt that fluttering sensation. Eric had spent his entire youth on the battlefield. Over a decade of living on the edge of a blade often brought back vivid nightmares. The sharp sword of war. Instead, the king's madness caused the pressure to mount daily. He woke with a start, gasping for breath. Once he settled, he realized it was raining outside. Perhaps that's why the dream felt so real. He remembered Misa saying she hated rainy days, so he got up to close the window and draw the curtains tight. With the sound of the rain blocked out, he thought everything would be fine, but when he turned back, he saw his wife was in a bad state. He immediately summoned Glara. After the examination, Glara learned from Eric that Misa hated the rain. Young master, are her nails clean? The girl was trapped in a dream. With a voice seemingly calling her name, Misa, she could vaguely see her mother's silhouette, but she couldn't hear her words. She reached out to hold on, but the touched. She woke up with a jolt. Her hands felt a warmth, and she slowly opened her eyes. Vision. Once her vision cleared, Mia realized she had grabbed the wrong person. She sat up abruptly. Eric asked nervously, "Is it okay for you to sit up like that? You have been asleep all day?" I was really worried. Sensing something in her ear, she reached out to take it out, but Eric stopped her. "Don't take it out yet. It is pouring outside. I will take it out for you once the rain lets up." She was confused. "Why is this in my ear?" "Because of the sound of the rain. Didn't you say you hate it? Then what about this thing next to us?" Eric looked a bit embarrassed. "At first, I hung some fabric by the bed to block the sound of the rain, but I still had many documents to process. It turned out that to look after her, Eric had moved his work to the bedside. By the way, how are you feeling now?" Mia never expected that he would remember something she mentioned in passing and stay with her all day for it. "Are you hungry? I will go get some food." Mia nodded. The moment Eric stood up, the girl suddenly hugged him. Her heart felt like it was going to explode. Whenever she was with Eric, it was as if she were back in her childhood. Days at the Celia Palace. There was her warm mother and many people who treated her with kindness. Everyone she met would smile and call her name. Back then, she received so much love and truly loved everyone in return. Until one day, everyone around her suddenly vanished. Since then, she began to deliberately avoid anything that triggered childhood memories. She lived like a mere observer, because only with that sense of detachment could she keep going. She never felt like her current life belonged to herself, until this moment when someone was looking at her with such gentle eyes. "Eric, thank you. Thank you for being so good to me." Eric hugged her back. He didn't expect his wife to say something like that. This year's rainy season came about 2 weeks earlier than usual. Eric stayed by her side until she gradually overcame the fear in her heart. As long as it wasn't thundering, she didn't need to plug her ears. Once she no longer feared the rain, she took the paper wads out of her ears. But Mia had a new problem. Every time she made eye contact with Eric, she would immediately look away. Along with her pounding heart, she didn't know when it started. But she seemed unable to look at Eric's face anymore. Every touch from her husband made the girl's heart skip a beat, yet she couldn't figure out why. Mia's heart was racing. She squeezed her eyes shut, not daring to look at Eric. His touch even made her feel waves of dizziness. Eric, who was extremely attentive to her, didn't miss this abnormality. Seeing his wife's flushed cheeks, he couldn't help but worry. "You seem to have a bit of a fever. Are you feeling unwell?" The palace was originally going to send a new maid soon. "If you are not up for it, I will tell them to come later." Seeing his face so close, Mia finally couldn't take it anymore. "I am fine, really, it is nothing." Eric's face was right there, and in a panic, she messed up again. She actually hit her husband, even after he had watched over her all day. This guilt kept Mia distracted until the next day. Jella brought many new clothes. "Come take a look, young madam. They say the young master ordered these a long time ago, but they only arrived today because of the rainy season." The usually talkative girl was now silent as a stone. Jella felt something was off. "But why do these clothes look so similar to the old ones?" I asked Eric. "For that, because it is more comfortable." "Is it not? But the fabric is much better than before. If the colors were brighter, they would suit your looks even more." "My looks?" She didn't quite understand the point, so she changed the subject. "Just now the head chef said he is making stew." The girl laughed at herself. "Just wait and see how I turn these clothes into the color of stew." But her heart was in turmoil. Earlier when she went out, she learned that in the eyes of the world, Eric was not only a war hero, but his looks were also 1 in a million. If he was someone who looked good to anyone, what about her? Eric had seen her most authentic self, her crude manners and unseemly behavior. The thought that surged up wasn't immediately dismissed. Why did she care about this? Was she not satisfied with the current situation? Did she want more respect? Eric was good to her because he treated her like family. Even the wedding night was something she requested. Although Mia told herself not to be greedy, deep down, there was a longing she hadn't even noticed. She hoped Eric would desperately want to have her, not just as family, but with a feeling beyond that. Jella, I heard that noble ladies all wear makeup. Jella was stunned. Yes, why do you ask? All of a sudden, have you ever worn makeup? Jella laughed. I am so busy making a living. Where would I find the time? But why? Are you asking? Are you interested in makeup now? Mia's heart skipped a beat. It is nothing. Why are you so busy making a living? Jella didn't ask further about the makeup. For people like us, it is very common. Occasionally, people even starve to death. Mia's eyes widened. Does this happen often in the territory? Eric always seems very worried about the food situation, because the land of Cladis is barren and not suitable for crops to grow. If the weather is bad, we have to buy grain from other territories. During the war a few years ago, there wasn't even manpower for farming. But thanks to the young master, the recent urgent food problems have been solved. Everyone has a hard time. Usually, the previous year's grain only lasts until summer. 2. Last until the autumn harvest, we have to slaughter livestock. Mia pressed further. Is the annual budget very small? As far as I know, the royal family collects taxes for the defense of the Northwest. It seems they pay a budget of 80,000 jerrys to the Vladnil territory every year. Just how many people are in this territory for that to not be enough? Jella wasn't good at math. Mia explained, that is about 208 years worth of wages for a maid. Jella was shocked. Mia sat up abruptly. Am I being weird? No. No, I already thought your memory was much better than most people. I never expected you could solve such complex math so easily, madam. Amazing and so cool. Amazing? Are you talking about me? Of course. Not just anyone could do that. The girl's cheeks flushed. Really? Then how else do you see me? While Jella was thinking hard, Mia suddenly realized she was being too excited and cleared her throat awkwardly. Just now I was only testing you. Now I know you are a very thoughtful person. So you don't need to say those sweet things to make me happy. But the truth was she wanted to hear more, and that little desire was written all over her face. Jella looked at her fondly. Mia suddenly remembered something. Oh, by the way, what was that thing you did last time? The thing you did with your hands. Are you talking about sign language? Those are signals only the Cladnir knights understand. I want to learn too. But I'm just a doctor, I don't know much. Then you go learn it, and then teach it all to me. Jella was speechless. Young madam, instead of me, why don't you learn from the young master? No, she immediately denied it. This must be kept a secret from Eric, because I want to give him a surprise. So you must not tell him, okay? Eric's cheeks felt a strange itch at that moment. She was like a cat with an unpredictable mood. Sometimes she would wag her tail and approach him, and other times she would prick up her ears and run away, all because she accidentally hit him. The cat had started playing hide-and-seek again. Until that night, Eric finally caught his chance to corner her at the bedside for questioning. Mia obediently reported her whereabouts for the day, but with every word she spoke, her husband's breath drew a bit closer. The burning proximity made her heart flutter. She pulled up the blanket and shifted. I walked too much today. I am so tired. So I am going to sleep early. But Eric was always extra sensitive to her little movements. Why won't you look me in the eye? The cat felt even more guilty, her voice starting to stutter. And no, I didn't. Madam, it seems you still have many things hidden from me. Eric's voice deepened, carrying a hint of dissatisfaction. If you won't look at me, fine, but are you now? Rejecting physical contact as well? Mia panicked even more, denying it repeatedly. How could I? Eric pulled the blanket up for her. Then just turn around and look into my eyes while you speak. Don't look anywhere else. The girl slowly turned around. In fact, it wasn't that she disliked it. It was just that seeing Eric's face made her heart race out of control. Before she could clear her head, he suddenly reached out and pulled her into his arms. His chin rested on her head as he whispered, go to sleep. We have a lot of things to do tomorrow. Despite his words, his hand around his wife's waist didn't loosen at all. Mia's face turned even redder. The next day, Eric asked Jella about Mia's health. Although she hadn't found out what the drug was, through observation and various tests, it didn't seem to be a serious case of poisoning. The foods she had eaten before could still be consumed. This result made Eric even more uneasy. Jella, however, did not leave. She confessed what she had accidentally overheard between the master and the first lady a few days ago, because she had seen too many terrible consequences caused by keeping secrets. Even if she were to be punished, she would accept it. But what shocked Jella was that the commander didn't blame her. He said it was because he hadn't restricted Mia's movements that this happened. In the end, Eric only ordered to seal off the areas with poor soundproofing. Soon after, they received news that the captain of the guard would visit. Again, Eric suddenly remembered Mia mentioning they were good friends. In fact, Edier had recently investigated something, which was that Tybrig had proposed to the princess a few years ago. What confused him was that Tybrig was extremely loyal to the crown. He knew the king had ordered no intermarriage between nobles and commoners, and that the marriage wouldn't benefit him. So why would he propose to a mentally unstable princess? Also, on the day the palace maid died, he clearly could have pushed the situation to disadvantage Cladnir, but chose to cooperate with them. It was as if he were worried about the princess's safety. Was it simple admiration, or was it a bigger plan of the king's? A strange guard captain and an unpredictable tyrant. He once heard the maids discussing that before the palace maid died, she screamed that everyone had been fooled by the princess. Edier couldn't help but have a suspicion, but immediately dismissed it. If that were true, the young master would have noticed. With his personality, he would absolutely not let it slide. Ultimately, Edier only reported that Tybrig was loyal to the crown and couldn't be bribed. He hid the relationship between the princess and the guard captain because whenever the princess was involved, both the first lady and the young master would lose their cool. So until he got definitive information, he decided to keep it hidden. This was also for the sake of Cladnir. One day, the palace sent a new maid. She was Kyla from the ManhWa family. Unlike the king's previous spies, this palace maid had already been bought by Edier. Especially after seeing Mia's condition. In the past at the palace, he had only seen the princess in shabby clothes, being pushed around. Now, the princess not only looked much healthier, but her attire also added a lot of elegance. Eric recently helped him forge a diagnosis to send his troublemaking brother-in-law to a nursing home. Once the matter was fully settled, he would tell Cladnir all the information he knew. After Kyla left, Mia leaned closer to Eric. I have seen that person before. She used to always follow Chief Maid Nymeria. Eric sat close to her. Then in your opinion, what kind of person is she? Although Kyla was close to the chief maid, if she found Nymeria doing dirty work, she would immediately cut ties. I heard she has 3 sons. So for her son's future, she has to stay by the chief maid. She doesn't belong to any faction and sticks to her duties. So Mia believes she is someone who can be trusted. Eric nodded. That is a relief. Mia looked up, hoping her husband would praise her, but the man uncharacteristically sent her back to her room with Jella. He had work to do because Tybrig was coming. Tybrig had prepared a goddess statue as a gift. It is said that goddess statues protect people, to keep children from having nightmares. Many use them to decorate cradles. Eric remembered how Mia was afraid to enter the sanctuary during worship. Who this gift was actually intended for was crystal clear from his attitude. I wonder if the madam has been sleeping well lately? Of course. I can. See, she is doing very well here. Eric kept a smile. Naturally. Thanks for your concern. Mia has been eating well and getting plenty of sleep. I didn't expect you to be so concerned about my wife. After saying that, he changed the subject. They discussed the recent Chris Vin poisoning incident. Like before, no matter what he proposed, Tybrig was highly cooperative. Even when he wanted to settle things privately with Chris Vin, Tybrig only said he would provide evidence. While Eric was wondering if the king had a hand in this, he noticed the holy statue. A strange feeling rose from his heart. He reached out and gave it a flick, and the gift just fell to the floor. This was something the old Eric would never have done. Just as he left the reception room to go greet the first lady, Tybrig stopped him again. By the way, I have another gift for the young madam. You have been married for months, so you should know. This is protective gear I made based on the young madam's size. The moment he saw the clothing, Eric suddenly understood. Before, when he saw the scar on the corner of this man's eye, why did it bother him? Because it was too similar to the scars covering Mia's back. So similar that he could easily guess under what circumstances they were made. This realization made him go cold all over. Whether it was Mia only being able to wear protective gear or the guy who could only make such things because he couldn't protect her. But what annoyed him even more was that he himself was no different from Tybrig. They went together to see the first lady. The moment she heard Tybrig's voice, the girl snapped her head up. She broke into a huge smile. The beautiful young girl barked like a dog, but Tybrig didn't look surprised. Eric froze. The situation was different, but it didn't matter, since even he had failed to protect her safety. Eric felt a surge of nausea. When exactly did his heart start to develop this inexplicable, indefinable feeling? In the lightning, the sky let out a roar of thunder that couldn't hide the painful figure in the depths of the palace. A woman in royal blue collapsed on the floor. How boring. The king looked at the trembling woman on the ground, his voice cold as a demon. Too bad, I still prefer the one who, no matter what I did, would only smile at me like an idiot. It has been a while, and I kind of miss her. She should be doing well right now. My sister, Mia. Even though he knew Tybrig was just a knight guarding the princess, Eric couldn't help being jealous. He even showed off by pulling Mia into his arms right in front of the knight, just because the guard captain talked about his past with the princess. Tybrig first met Mia while patrolling the palace. Later, he found she was unattended, so he often spent his breaks playing with her. and Mia's imitation of animal sounds was also taught by him. Tyberg laughed self-deprecatingly. Speaking of the old days, is a bit awkward. Eric's expression was unreadable. Quite an interesting past. Kyla was somewhat surprised. With Cladnir's intelligence, it was impossible not to know the guard captain had proposed to the princess, yet the young master could act so nonchalantly toward Tyberg. Should he be called a devoted husband, or just heartless? But she believed that given the princess's condition, no matter how much affection he showed, it was all just for show. But she didn't know Eric was already driven mad with jealousy. Eric spoke coldly to Jella. He gave her a look, and as soon as Jella approached, he grabbed Mia's arm and pulled her toward him. Before Jella could react, Mia was already in his arms. Unlike his cold look just now, he smiled at his wife with extreme tenderness. Do you want some cake? Mia didn't know what Eric was up to, but she knew to just play along. While Tyberg was chatting with the First Lady over tea, he noticed Eric holding the princess and feeding her. Clearly, this was something they had done countless times. It left him stunned for a moment. It wasn't until dusk that Tyberg prepared to leave. After judging that the princess was doing very well, he gave Eric a friendly warning. The atmosphere in the palace is very bad. His Majesty is extremely frustrated, especially after the Malika and Yalai incidents. He seems to have lost his mind. Eric wasn't surprised at all. After all, the king originally wanted to use Mia to destroy Cladnir, but Mia had failed his expectations. So he must be furious. By the way, I have one more thing to hand over to you. Tyberg pulled out a letter. His Majesty hopes you two can attend the founding festival. He said he wants to see the young madam after all this time. As you suspected, it's definitely not out of sibling love. In fact, he might even be spiteful. Though I can't say much in detail, the silver lining is that no matter what happens, the young countess doesn't know what's going on. Tyberg left with those vague words and told him to leave at the right time after showing his face at the festival. How could Eric not understand this? But if he just showed his face and left, how could that appease the king's wrath? He will surely find every way to use Mia to bring down Cladnir. After all, that was his purpose for sending Mia to him in the first place. He couldn't figure out Tyberg's intentions at all. No matter how he looked at it, the man didn't seem to have any connection to the liar and traitor Mia described. Was it another trap? Mia grabbed Eric's clothes, curious about what he was thinking. Eric just glanced at her and lay down on her lap. That Tyberg, I still haven't figured out what kind of person he is. Didn't I tell you last time? He is a liar and also a filthy traitor. Then why did you greet someone like that with a smile? Mia blinked. He knew his wife wouldn't answer. Forget it. Aside from that, I received an invitation from the palace. It seems Belmar personally invited both of us. Seeing Mia lower her head, he immediately comforted her. Are you scared? If anything happens at the palace, I will definitely protect you. Also, I want to take this chance to meet Archduke Hakai. Maybe I can get some intel from him to better defend against the king. But unexpectedly, Mia suddenly shouted, no, you can't. Her small frame trembled with fear. Is it because I show that I hate the king? I am sorry. I will be more careful from now on. Aren't we doing great now? I am fine too, so? Even though I don't know what you were trying to do, please don't do anything. I'm begging you.